Chapter 4293. Qin Feiyang looked at the jade pendant in Dong Qin's hand and sighed. Follow me to a place. What place? Dong Qin was suspicious. As your teacher, I know Dong Tianxin's character too well. This time you offended them, they won't let you go so easily. So, you should stay in my spatial divine item, it will be safer. Qin Feiyang said. Thank you, teacher. Dong Qin was overjoyed. As long as she could enter her teacher's spatial divine item, Dong Tianxin and the other two wouldn't have a chance to kill her. Is there anything you need to pack? Qin Feiyang asked. Dong Qin looked at the jade pendant in her hand and shook her head no. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled. With a wave of his hand, Dong Qin also instantly disappeared without a trace. I really have the talent to be a movie king. Qin Feiyang smirked and immediately entered the Black Tortoise realm. Then he controlled the Black Tortoise realm and quietly left. In the cultivation room, Dong Laifu had been tortured to death by the white-eyed wolf. But suddenly, another figure appeared. The two of them were stunned and turned their heads to look. Their expressions froze. Why would this woman come to the cultivation room? That's right. This woman was Dong Qin. At the same time, Dong Qin looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf and couldn't help but be stunned. What's going on? Isn't this teacher's spatial divine item? Why are these two guys here too? Uncle Fu? When she saw Dong Laifu, her expression froze again. Why were you tricked by them? Dong Laifu shouted. Tricked? Dong Qin's delicate body trembled and immediately looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf. With a glance her expression changed. The madman and the white-eyed wolf were pouncing towards her. Get lost. She suddenly roared and her aura surged out. However, it was still a step too late. The white-eyed wolf's palm hit Dong Qin's lower abdomen. Accompanied by a scream, Dong Qin's sea of qi shattered on the spot and she spat out a mouthful of blood. You still want to cause trouble in the Black Tortoise realm? The madman looked at her mockingly. This is the Black Tortoise realm? Dong Qin's eyes trembled, her face deathly pale. That's right. Right now we are in the Black Tortoise realm. This is Qin Feiyang's spatial divine item. Dong Laifu exclaimed. Who would have thought that someone who had been smart all his life would be foolish at this moment? He was actually deceived by such a small trick. What a great humiliation. Outside. A moment passed. Qin Feiyang successfully left Mount Supreme. To him, capturing the two powerhouses was a piece of cake. After all, he had the help of the human race's supreme being. Following closely, he went to Qingtian City. However, he didn't show himself. He just watched from afar. Some time ago, Dong Tianxin's group of 4 had fought the mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf, destroying the entire Qingtian City. However, after the battle it had been rebuilt. Moreover, the scale was even larger than before. At this moment, Qin Feiyang could clearly sense that the number of people gathered in Qingtian City was much greater than before. Obviously, many people were here to join in the fun. In the sky, the inner demons and Lu Jijin had always been filled with hostility. Ordinary people didn't dare to approach them. After watching for a while, Qin Feiyang quietly left and entered the Black Tortoise realm. Although only a short while had passed outside, many years had passed in the Black Tortoise realm. The white-eyed wolf and the mad scientist were drinking in the tea garden. Why aren't you guys keeping an eye on the cultivation room? Qin Feiyang frowned. The white-eyed wolf said in disdain, Dong Qin's qi has been destroyed and her Qiankuan ring has been confiscated by us. Needless to say, Dong Laifu only has a little bit of his soul left. Do you still need us to keep an eye on him? I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and asked curiously. Then did you find anything valuable in her Qiankuan ring? For example? The white-eyed wolf asked back. For example, the inheritance of the ultimate profound. Qin Feiyang said. You always say that we're money grubbers, but I think you're the money grubber. There's no inheritance, but there's a lot of law miniatures. They're not valuable. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The law miniatures were not valuable? This guy was really arrogant. Did he forget how many cruel battles they went through to snatch the law miniatures in the Sky Bell Divine Treasury? These things could be left to the beings of the Black Tortoise realm because to the beings of the Black Tortoise realm, they were priceless treasures. Give all the useful things to the Fire Lotus. Qin Feiyang said. Got it. I've already given them to her. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. Then let's go and meet Dong Qin and Dong Laifu. I really want to know what they were plotting with Dong Qingyuan in the hall. A radiant light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes as he strode towards the ancient castle. They entered the cultivation room. The three of them saw Dong Laifu sitting in the corner. He didn't even have the mood to reconstruct his body and divine soul. His face was filled with despair. Dong Qin kept her head down and looked at the jade pendant in her hand. Her eyes were empty. What's there to look at? The white-eyed wolf stepped forward and snatched the jade pendant. He mocked, no matter how you look at it. Dong Hanzong is a lonely soul and he won't come to save you. Give it back to me. Dong Qin immediately got up and pounced on the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf kicked Dong Qin and she was sent flying. She slammed into the wall and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. But she was unaware of all this. She immediately got up and pounced on the white-eyed wolf, as if the jade pendant was the only thing in her eyes. You care so much? Believe it or not, I'll crush it right now. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Don't. Dong Qin's expression stiffened and she quickly stopped and begged, don't destroy it. I beg you, give it back to me. Sigh. Looking at Dong Qin's appearance, Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, give it back to her. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips and threw the jade pendant to Dong Qin. Dong Qin hurriedly grabbed it and looked left, right, up and down. After confirming that it was not damaged, she carefully put it in her arms. The madman frowned and said, I don't believe that you don't know what kind of person Dong Hanzong is. Is such a man really worth your sacrifice? Even at the expense of offending Dong Tianchen? You emotionless, cold-blooded animals won't understand. Dong Qin sneered. We are emotionless, cold-blooded animals? The madman and the white-eyed wolf heard this and couldn't help but want to laugh. In terms of feelings, who could compare with them? They were both men who were loyal to their feelings. Dong Qin looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two as if she was facing death calmly and said, Since I've fallen into your hands, I admit defeat. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed with murderous intent and slapped her. Dong Qin's expression didn't change at all. It seems that it won't be easy to pry open her mouth. The white-eyed wolf retracted his arm and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Laifu. His mouth is also very stubborn. After torturing him for so long, he still didn't say anything. The white-eyed wolf was helpless. I still have this bit of backbone. Dong Laifu looked at the three of them ferociously. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two and said with a faint smile, Do you think that I can't do anything to you if you don't speak? The two's pupils shrank. Qin Feiyang turned to the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile, Go and invite Long Chun here. Okay. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and turned to leave quickly. When Dong Laifu heard that he was going to invite Long Chun, his body suddenly trembled and he quickly said, Wait. He had long known that Long Chun had mastered the soul-controlling technique and could control living creatures and deprive them of the ultimate profound. Once he was really controlled by Long Chun, he would definitely not be able to keep the ultimate profound that he had mastered. Are you willing to speak? The white-eyed wolf turned his head and looked at him mockingly. I'll speak, I'll tell you everything, Dong Laifu nodded. Haha. I thought how tough your bones were. The white-eyed wolf laughed loudly, full of ridicule. Dong Laifu lowered his head in shame and said weakly, But you have to promise me that you won't kill me and you won't deprive me of the ultimate profound. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and said playfully, Do you think that you are still qualified to negotiate with us now? Dong Laifu was silent. Since he had already fallen into the hands of these people, how could he be qualified to negotiate? However, if he wanted to live, he had to put forward these conditions. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Laifu for a moment and laughed. I don't want to trouble Long Chun with everything. As long as you answer my questions truthfully, I can consider giving you a way out. Thank you. Ask away. I'll tell you everything I know. Dong Laifu said. Dong Qin stared at Dong Laifu and said angrily, You coward. Hearing this, Dong Laifu's face suddenly became incomparably ferocious, and roared, If you want to die, then die by yourself, don't implicate me. Haha, this is the person that teacher trusts, how ridiculous. Even a dog knows how to be loyal. You're even worse than a dog. Dong Qin laughed. You. Dong Laifu stared at Dong Qin with a hateful look. But suddenly, for some reason, a smile crawled onto his face as he looked at Dong Qin and said, Do you think Dong Hanzong will really come to save you? Let me tell you, he doesn't have the guts. Shut up. When Dong Qin heard this, she immediately roared at Dong Laifu, and glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other two, looking rather flustered. Qin Feiyang and the other two were stunned. What did that mean? Dong Hanzong had already become a lonely ghost. How could he still come to save Dong Qin? Dong Laifu looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two, then looked at Dong Qin and sneered. You don't want me to say it, right? I will say it. You dare. Dong Qin roared and pounced towards Dong Laifu crazily. The white-eyed wolf's face sank. He took a step forward, grabbed Dong Qin's arm, and threw her to the side, and said in a deep voice, Let me tell you, if you dare to pester endlessly, I will destroy you. Come on, do you think I'm afraid of you? Dong Qin moved closer. You're really challenging my limits. The white-eyed wolf's killing intent soared, and with a kick, the power of law surged, causing Dong Qin to scream miserably. Her body shattered on the spot, and blood dyed the entire training room red. You better remember, we are not Dong Ping. Killing you is as easy as crushing an ant. Madman looked at Dong Qin and said, My jade pendant. Dong Qin's soul hurriedly searched the ground, but after searching the entire training room, she could not find the jade pendant. It seemed that it had been destroyed along with her body. At this moment, she collapsed on the ground, her face filled with pain. Chapter 4294. Courting Death. The white-eyed wolf looked at Dong Qin with a cold smile, then looked at Dong Laifu and said, What do you mean by that? Dong Hanzong is not dead. Dong Laifu said. What? The eyes of Qin Feiyang and the other two trembled. They were the ones who killed Dong Hanzong with their own hands. The dozen or so divine souls that were split out were all killed by them. How could he not be dead? Could it be? Did Mu Qing miss something? Dong Hanzong is a very careful and shrewd person. When he left the Central Dynasty, he had secretly left a divine soul behind. Dong Laifu said. This, Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and frowned. The divine soul that he left behind in the Central Divine Kingdom, even we didn't know about it at first. He even hid it from Dong Qin. Dong Tianchen, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian naturally didn't know about it. Dong Laifu explained. The white-eyed wolf frowned and said, In other words, we spent so much effort to kill him, but in the end it was all a waste of time? That's right. Dong Laifu nodded. That bastard. The white-eyed wolf was furious. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but clench his fists and sighed. It seems that we still underestimated him. He is indeed a difficult opponent. The madman nodded, then frowned and said in confusion, Since he left a divine soul in the Central Dynasty, why did he run to the village to ask Boss Ji for help? And he even spent so much effort to split out a dozen divine souls? He's just putting on a show. Dong Laifu said. Acting? The madman was stunned. That's right. He did this to create an illusion that he didn't leave a divine soul in the Central Dynasty to save his life. This way you won't have to be on guard against him in the future. When the time comes, he will suddenly appear and catch you off guard. Dong Laifu explained. Damn. This person is more than just a little sinister. The three were shocked. Dong Laifu wasn't exaggerating at all. If they hadn't found out now, Dong Hanzong would have suddenly attacked them when they were in danger, and they wouldn't have been able to react in time. How terrifying. Whether it was Qin Feiyang, the mad scientist, or the white-eyed wolf, all of them were wary of Dong Hanzong. This person was too shrewd. Moreover, he was so cautious that he even kept Dong Qin in the dark. Who? Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyang asked, Then what were you and Dong Qingyuan plotting with Dong Tianchen and the others in the main hall the last time they were separated from Lu Yuntian, Lu Yunfeng, and the ruler? Dong Laifu thought back for a moment and said, At that time, we were talking about Dong Hanzong's survival in the hall. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. No wonder he sent eldest cousin and the others away. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't tell such a big thing to someone he didn't trust. Bastard. Dong Tianchen, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian didn't tell us such important information. The white-eyed wolf suddenly roared. Why would they tell you? Because this matter is also beneficial to them. At that time, if Dong Hanzong is able to successfully launch a sneak attack on you all and kill you all, then your control over them will naturally be resolved. Dong Laifu said. The white-eyed wolf was taken aback and sneered. It seems that they have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. I told you these three can't be left alive. The mad scientist's eyes flashed with killing intent. I didn't plan to let them live. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with a cold light. He originally planned to kill these three when the ruler of the Divine Kingdom returned, but now it seemed that he had to deal with them as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would become a disaster sooner or later. Qin Feiyong asked, "Then tell me, how many people does Dong Qingyuan have in the Death God Army? You even know about the Death God Army?" Dong Laifu looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. The mad scientist sneered. "Dong Tianxin is already under our control. How can this kind of thing be hidden from us?" Dong Laifu nodded and shook his head. "I don't know the exact number of the Death God Army." "You don't know?" The three were stunned. Their eyes were as sharp as blades, emitting a shocking sharpness. "I'm not lying. I really don't know." Dong Laifu hurriedly waved his hand and explained, "The Death God Army is very mysterious. In the entire Central Dynasty, other than the ruler, the emperor, and Dong Qingyuan, no one else knows about it." "But aren't you Dong Qingyuan's confidant?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. "I am Dong Qingyuan's confidant, but the emperor has clearly ordered that no one else knows about the Death God Army. Dong Qingyuan doesn't dare to disobey the emperor's orders. Therefore, every time Dong Qingyuan went to meet the members of the Death God Legion, he went alone." Dong Laifu explained. So mysterious. Qin Feiyong and the other two could not help but frown. They thought that they would be able to find out about the Death God Army by capturing Dong Laifu alive. But now it seemed that they still needed the inner demons and Big Cousin. Furthermore, even if Dong Qingyuan had removed his guard against the inner demons and Big Cousin, it would not be that easy to find out about the Death God Army. After all, Dong Qingyuan did not even reveal a word to Dong Laifu, his confidant. It seems that in order to sneak into the Death God Army or come into contact with the Death God Army, the emperor has to agree. Dong Qingyuan doesn't have the final say. The inner demons and Big Cousin, this is a difficult task. The white-eyed wolf sighed. What kind of terrifying army was this? Why did they have to be so secretive? Let's take it slow. Qin Feiyong sighed inwardly. He looked at the two of them and said, "Do you have any other questions?" The white-eyed wolf lowered his head and pondered for a while. Suddenly, there was a trace of a sneaky smile in his eyes. He looked at Dong Laifu and said, "Does your emperor have a daughter?" Dong Laifu looked at the white-eyed wolf in astonishment. Qin Feiyong and Frenzy also looked at him suspiciously. Why did he suddenly ask this? "Speak." The white-eyed wolf shouted with a cold face. "Yes." Dong Laifu quickly nodded. The white-eyed wolf's expression softened. He asked in a sneaky manner, "Is she beautiful?" "Ah." Dong Laifu looked at the white-eyed wolf in astonishment again. Hey, are you looking for death?" The white-eyed wolf said angrily. "Beautiful, beautiful. Her Royal Highness is known as the #1 beauty of the Central Dynasty." Dong Laifu quickly nodded. "#1 beauty? Is this for real? Don't tell me everyone is flattering her." The white-eyed wolf expressed his doubts. "Regarding this question, I dare to swear that it is absolutely not fake. Your Highness, you are so beautiful that you can topple a city," Dong Laifu said. If that's the case, the white-eyed wolf turned to look at Qin Feiyong and Frenzy and said, "Does Big Cousin really like this princess? Otherwise, why hasn't he confessed to Fire Lotus yet?" Qin Feiyong and Frenzy were speechless when they heard this. They were wondering what he was going to do. In the end, it turned out that he was struggling with this question. Feelings weren't something that could happen just because he said so. There had to be a process. Although Lu Jijin and Fire Lotus had known each other for a long time, the two of them hadn't really interacted much. How could Lu Jijin confess like this? The eunuch was more anxious than the emperor. This sentence was indeed true. Qin Feiyong looked at the two and said, "If there are no other questions, then let's get ready to move." "Okay." Frenzy nodded. But suddenly, he stretched out his hand and said, "Wait." Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. Frenzy pondered for a while and looked at Dong Laifu. Did Dong Qingyuan leave his divine soul in the Central Dynasty? How is that possible? In the Central Dynasty, He is an existence that is second only to one person. His pride and arrogance wouldn't allow him to do such a thing, Dong Lifu said. That's good. Frenzy nodded and smiled. This way, killing Dong Qingyun in the future wouldn't be in vain. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and said with a smile, since you asked this, then let's ask about Dong Qingyuan's strength. How is Dong Qingyuan's strength? His strength? Definitely stronger than me. Also, he has a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. Dong Lifu said. What? A pinnacle sovereign divine weapon? Qin Feiyong and the other two were shocked. Low, middle, high. After high was the pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. They didn't expect Dong Qingyuan to be hiding such a terrifying sovereign divine weapon. Dong Lifu said enviously, it is said that this sovereign divine weapon was personally given to Dong Qingyuan by the sovereign. Its lethality is extremely terrifying. Pinnacle, Qin Feiyong muttered as he looked at Frenzy and the white-eyed wolf. He frowned and said, in that case, we have underestimated the origin energy of the divine kingdom? Seems so. The two nodded. In the past, they thought that the origin energy of the divine kingdom could only create a high-grade sovereign divine weapon at most. If that was the case, the Black Tortoise realm would soon catch up to the divine kingdom, because the current Black Tortoise realm could already create a mid-grade sovereign divine weapon. As long as it grew another level, it would be comparable to the divine kingdom. But they didn't expect a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon to appear now. If that was the case, the Black Tortoise realm would have to grow another 2 levels to catch up to the divine kingdom. The amount of time needed to advance 2 levels was not an ordinary amount of time. The white-eyed wolf pondered for a while and looked at the two. However, a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon isn't much of a threat to us. Don't brag. It isn't much of a threat to old Qin because he has 3,000 incarnations. But you and I aren't a match for a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. Frenzy shook his head. 10 low-grade sovereign divine weapons were equivalent to 1 mid-grade sovereign divine weapon. 10 mid-grade sovereign divine weapons were equivalent to 1 high-grade sovereign divine weapon. 10 high-grade sovereign divine weapons were equivalent to 1 pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. In other words, 1 pinnacle sovereign divine weapon was equivalent to 1,000 low-grade sovereign divine weapons. This wasn't a small number. Even though Frenzy had a heaven-defying ability like the all-evil sword, he didn't have much confidence. The white-eyed wolf frowned as he looked at Dong Lifu and asked, does the Central Dynasty have a legendary sovereign divine weapon? Legendary sovereign divine weapon was above pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. Never heard of it. At least not as far as I know. But I don't know if Lord Sovereign has one. Dong Lifu shook his head. Because with his status, he couldn't come into contact with the sovereign of the divine kingdom. Chapter 4295. Regardless of whether the sovereign of the divine kingdom has a legendary level sovereign divine weapon or not, this peak level sovereign divine weapon is already ours. The madman smiled. The white-eyed wolf and Qin Feiyong looked at each other and smiled. They couldn't miss out on a peak level sovereign divine weapon. Looking at their expressions, Dong Lifu had an indescribable feeling in his heart. What kind of people were they? It was as if there was nothing they didn't dare to do. Come with us. Qin Feiyong looked at Dong Lifu and smiled. Where to? Dong Lifu was surprised. A good place. Qin Feiyong smiled. Can I not go? Dong Lifu said in horror. How could there be a good place here? No. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Dong Lifu curled up in the corner and said in horror. You said you would let me go. You can't go back on your words. Qin Feiyong laughed and said, it's not impossible to let you go, but you have to cooperate with us first. Acting? Dong Lifu was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, what do you mean? Qin Feiyong joked, you and Heavenly Lord Ji pretended to be us and went to Blue Sun Mountain to kill Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng's family. We can't always be the scapegoat for this. What? Dong Lifu's eyes trembled. How did Qin Feiyong and the others know about this? We have the all-seeing eye. Is it difficult to know these things? Qin Feiyong looked at him playfully. You've been monitoring us with the all-seeing eye? Dong Lifu was shocked. It's fine as long as you know. There's no need to say it out loud. Qin Feiyong laughed. Now was not the time to reveal their cards, because many things were unpredictable. If they revealed their relationship with the inner demons now, Wouldn't it be a disaster if something unexpected happened? Therefore, what should be kept a secret should be kept a secret. Dong Laifu's eyes trembled. It turned out that all of this was under the surveillance of the other party. Qin Feiyong smiled. If it wasn't for this, why would we go to Mount Supreme and capture you? All right. Dong Laifu nodded and said, I'll cooperate with you, but you must promise to let me go after this. We'll talk about it later. Qin Feiyong smiled. If you don't promise me, I won't go even if you beat me to death. Dong Laifu gritted his teeth. Really? Then I'll kill you. White-eyed Wolf's eyes flashed coldly. Even now, he still dared to bargain with them? He really didn't know what kind of situation he was in right now. Dong Laifu was terrified. What should we do with Dong Qin? White-eyed Wolf asked. Qin Feiyong glanced at Dong Qin, pondering for a moment before saying, suppress it in the soul-sealing valley first. It might be useful when dealing with Dong Hanzong. Deal with Brother Zong. Dong Qin's gaze trembled. She could not become a burden to Brother Zong. As expected, she had chosen to destroy her own soul. Humph! The ingrate snorted coldly. She reacted quickly and suppressed Dong Qin. Let me die, let me die. Dong Qin screamed as if she had gone mad. Now, even if you want to die, you'll have to ask us first. White-eyed Wolf sneered, grabbed Dong Qin, and rushed out of the castle like lightning, flying toward the soul-sealing valley. Qin Feiyong also waved his hand, sealed Dong Laifu's soul, and followed Lunatic to find Long Chan. Below a creation tree, Long Chan sat on the ground, his long hair draped over his shoulders, and his white robe was spotless. He was like the son of God, extraordinary and refined. No, you can't go back on your words. You promised me that you won't use the soul-controlling technique to control me. Dong Laifu roared. As soon as he saw Long Chan, he knew what he was going to face. Dong Laifu's roar woke Long Chan up. What the hell? Long Chan opened his eyes and glared at Qin Feiyong and Lunatic. Cough cough. Qin Feiyong coughed dryly and said with a smile, there's nothing else. You just have to help control him, and we'll deal with the rest. Long Chan rolled his eyes. Soul-controlling technique was activated. Soul-controlling technique was a method to directly control the soul, so even without a physical body it could be directly controlled. The process was very smooth. After being controlled, Dong Laifu became obedient. Next you have to listen to them. Long Chan said. Yes, master. Dong Laifu responded respectfully. Amazing. Lunatic bared his teeth. The power of soul-controlling technique was that even if Dong Laifu became a puppet, he would still be the same as before. Unlike puppet-controlling technique, once turned into a puppet, it would be an emotionless puppet with empty eyes. Others could see this at a glance. But soul-controlling technique, if you didn't know in advance, you wouldn't be able to see that he was already controlled. Is there anything else? Long Chan asked. Lunatic was taken aback and nodded. Understood. We'll get out of here immediately. Long Chan rolled his eyes. Next, Qin Feiyong went to find the mermaid princess and asked her to open the Eye of Life to help Dong Laifu reconstruct his physical body and soul. Then the two of them brought Dong Laifu into the tea garden and asked about Dong Hanzong's life and death again. Because Dong Laifu was not controlled by soul-controlling technique before, what if he was hiding something? In the end, after some questioning, it was exactly the same as before. Madman rolled his eyes and looked at Dong Laifu. Extract all of your ultimate Upanishads. Yes. Dong Laifu nodded, and without any hesitation, he immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and stripped out all the ultimate meaning. The more of these things the better. Lunatic bared his teeth. After a while, Dong Laifu's ultimate meaning were all stripped out, and his cultivation level directly fell to the imperishable realm. The current Dong Laifu had no value to them except for the future plan. Swish. The white-eyed wolf finally returned. How is it? Qin Feiyong asked. It has been suppressed. But to be honest, this woman is really pitiful. The white-eyed wolf sighed. You can also sympathize with her? Lunatic was surprised. What do you mean? So in your eyes, I am a cold-blooded person. The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Haha. Lunatic laughed. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Dong Qin is indeed pitiful, but she is not worthy of sympathy. Why? Is it because she chose to take revenge on Dong Tianqian and the others? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Revenge, I am not against it. After all, it is for the people you love. But revenge can also be done through proper means. If she chose to fight with Dong Tianchen and the others to avenge Dong Hanzong openly, not only will I not say anything, but I will also admire her. But now she has chosen to distort the truth. Qin Feiyang shook his head. I am afraid she does not have the ability to fight with Dong Tianchen and the others. The white-eyed wolf frowned. When we first fought with the Divine Kingdom, weren't we inferior to them? But why can we deal with one enemy after another? Qin Feiyang asked. That's true. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Let's not talk about her. Prepare to go to Qingtian City and put on a wonderful show for Dongqing'an. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered coldly. He had planned for so long just for this moment. Qingtian City. Night enveloped the world. Although it was already late at night, the city was still brightly lit. This was especially true for the major restaurants, which were basically packed to the brim. Everyone was drinking and discussing while waiting. Buzz. Suddenly in the night sky, a space-time tunnel appeared. Lu Jijin and Lunatic, who were standing in the sky, immediately looked at the space-time tunnel with murderous intent in their eyes. A space-time tunnel has appeared. Could it be Qin Feiyang and the others? In the city below, there were also many people who immediately discovered the space-time tunnel and immediately exclaimed. Immediately, people in the major restaurants swarmed out and looked up at the space-time tunnel. It was the center of attention. Finally, 3 figures stepped out of the space-time tunnel one after another. Who else could it be other than Qin Feiyang and the others? It's really them. They really didn't disappoint us. I told you they can't be afraid of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. There will definitely be a bloody battle next. Everyone be careful and be ready to leave Qingtian City at any time. Everyone was discussing. Many cowardly people had already fled Qingtian City with their families. You're finally here. The inner demons roared and a monstrous evil aura surged out, heading straight for Qin Feiyang and the others. Humph! Lunatic snorted coldly. A terrifying evil aura also emerged from his body. The 2 evil auras collided with each other. A destructive ripple immediately surged out in all directions like a flood, including the clear sky city below. Leave the city quickly. Someone roared. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang raised his hand and waved. The power of life and death emerged and condensed into a huge barrier above Qingtian City. The destructive wave was blocked by the barrier. Seeing this scene, the people in the city were all stunned. What did Qin Feiyang mean by this? He actually protected them? Qin Feiyang looked at the inner demons and said indifferently, "This is our personal grudge. Don't hurt the innocent." I didn't expect you to be so benevolent. They are all people of our divine kingdom and you still want to protect them? The inner demons sneered. Whether it is the people of the divine kingdom or the people of the sky cloud realm, they should not be involved in our battle. Qin Feiyang said, "Stop pretending to be benevolent. If you are really such a person, why did you go to Qingyang Mountain to kill our family? Aren't they innocent?" The inner demons roared. "I will give you an explanation for this matter later." After Qin Feiyang said that, he looked at the people in the city below and said indifferently, "I know that there are many of you here. You are all spies sent by the Emperor, the Monarch, and the Supreme Being of the human race. Now inform the Emperor and the others to come to Qingtian City immediately." As expected, as Qin Feiyang's voice fell, many people took out their voice transmission stones. "What do you want? Aren't you afraid that they will encircle you?" The inner demons sneered. "If we were afraid, we wouldn't have come to Qingtian City. Besides, maybe you will help us later." Qin Feiyang laughed. "What do you mean?" The inner demons frowned. "Don't worry, you will know soon." After Qin Feiyang said that, he slowly took out a tea table and a few wooden stools and sat down with the madman and the white-eyed wolf to drink tea. "You still have the mood to drink tea?" Seeing this, everyone was speechless. Chapter 4296. Supreme Mountain. Sir. The human race Supreme Master hurried to the back mountain and stood in front of Dong Qingyuan's courtyard. Soon, Dong Qingyuan walked out and looked at the anxious human race Supreme Master. He frowned and said, "What's the matter? Why are you so flustered?" A spy reported that Qin Feiyang and the other two appeared in Qingtian City. The human race supreme master said. Really? Dong Qingyun asked in surprise. It's absolutely true. The human race supreme master nodded. They really dare to go to Qingtian City. It seems that I have underestimated their courage. Killing intent flashed in Dong Qingyuan's eyes. He turned to look at the courtyard next door and shouted, Dong Laifu, come out immediately. Let's go to Qingtian City. However, there was no response from the courtyard. What's going on? Dong Qingyuan was stunned. The human race supreme master also had a suspicious look. Dong Qingyuan released his divine sense and shrouded the courtyard. No one. After coming back to his senses, he hurriedly turned to look at the human race supreme master and asked, Have you seen Dong Laifu? No. The human race supreme master shook his head. What's going on? Dong Qingyuan frowned. The human race supreme master said suspiciously, Could it be that he has already gone to Qingtian City? Impossible. Dong Qingyuan shook his head. Dong Laifu was his confidant. If he really went to Qingtian City, he would definitely report to him in advance. Then, he probably has something to do and left alone. The human race supreme master guessed. Dong Qingyuan frowned and waved his hand. Let's ignore him and go to Qingtian City. Not long after the two opened the teleportation channel and left, Dong Tianchen, Dong Ping and Dong Xian, who lived on the other side, also walked out of their respective courtyards. The three of them looked at each other and went straight to Dong Qin's pavilion without saying a word. In their eyes there was a bone-piercing killing intent. Obviously, they wanted to take advantage of Dong Qingyuan's absence to attack Dong Qin. However, when they entered the courtyard and saw that there was no one in the loft, they were a little stunned. Where was this damn woman? Could it be that teacher is protecting her? Dong Xian frowned. There's no other explanation. Dong Ping snorted. It seems that teacher has already expected that we won't let Dong Qin go. Dong Tianchun sighed, looking rather vexed. Are we going to Qingtian City now? Dong Ping asked. Of course. Qin Feiyang's opponents this time are Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. Moreover, the people of the three major races will definitely take this opportunity to encircle and annihilate them. As long as they die, won't we be able to regain our freedom? Dong Xian sneered. Qingtian City. More and more people rushed over after hearing the news. There were even remnants of the Sea clan and the Beast clan. There was no exception. When they saw Qin Feiyang and the other two sitting in the sky above the city and drinking tea as if there was no one else around, their expressions became extremely strange. There wasn't even the slightest bit of tension. Those who didn't know would think that this was a gathering of old friends. Swish! As space-time tunnels appeared, the first to descend upon Qingtian City was the Divine King. The 10 reverends of the Deity race all followed him. His aura was monstrous. Following closely, the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji also arrived with the 10 supremacies of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. The atmosphere gradually became solemn, because the people of the two major races were filled with an inescapable murderous intent. After a few breaths, the human clan supreme being and Dong Qingyuan also arrived with a group of experts. Dong Qingyuan looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with murderous intent surging in his eyes. He waved his hand and said, Surround them. The people of the three major races immediately spread out and surrounded Qin Feiyang and the other two. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang and the other two couldn't help but show a trace of mockery on their faces. Damn old man, don't be hasty. I'll let you be awe-inspiring for a while. You'll suffer later. Almost everyone is here. Qin Feiyang chuckled. As he waved his hand, a few small stools appeared. He said with a smile, Why don't you sit down and we'll talk while drinking tea? My three little brothers, you're quite refined. Dong Qingyuan said with a smile. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. We're just trying to find joy in hardship. We can't compare with you. You're the refined one. Is that so? I didn't even realize it myself. Dong Qingyuan looked at Qin Feiyang with a fake smile. Don't do it unless you don't want others to know. Qin Feiyang smiled meaningfully. He looked at the inner demons and Lu Jijin and said, You should be very curious now. Why did I kill your family? If you have something to say it quickly. The inner demons raised his eyebrows. Okay, I'll tell you now. I didn't kill your family. Qin Feiyang said. Are you joking with us? The news that you went to Blue Sun Mountain and killed their family has already spread throughout the 4 great continents. There's irrefutable evidence. Dong Qingyun shouted coldly. That's right. Someone clearly recorded the whole process of you killing their family. The evidence is irrefutable. How can you deny it? The people in the city below also shouted one after another. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Qingyun, then at the people in the city below and said with a faint smile, what you see may not be true. What a joke. The evidence is right in front of us. How can it be false? Besides you, who else has 3,000 incarnations? Don't tell us that it was the purple gold divine dragon who did it. Someone sneered. Qin Feiyang took a sip of tea and said playfully, what if it was really the purple gold divine dragon who did it? What? The people looked at the Overlord and Heavenly Lord Ji in surprise. Don't talk nonsense. It's obvious. We're all people of the divine kingdom. How can we kill Lu Yunfeng's family? The Overlord shouted coldly. My lord, don't be so agitated. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Dong Qingyun. He sighed and said, you're really ruthless. You can even come up with such a vicious plan to deal with us. Dong Qingyuan's pupils contracted. Looking at Qin Feiyang's eyes, he was a little nervous. What was going on? Could it be that Qin Feiyang had already seen through the truth of this matter? Lu Yuntian Lu Yunfeng, although I, Qin Feiyang, am not a good person, at the very least I know that I should not implicate my family. Furthermore, I don't even know where the Cyansan mountain is. How could I possibly go and kill your family? Qin Feiyang said. The inner demons frowned and asked, then what's the matter with the video circulating in the 4 great continents? Someone is framing us. Qin Feiyang said. Framing? The inner demons were stunned. Dong Qingyun shouted, Lu Yuntan, don't listen to his nonsense. He's trying to sow discord. Hurry up and avenge your family. We'll all help you. Old man, are you in such a hurry to kill us? Are you trying to silence us? The lunatic looked at Dong Qingyun mockingly. What nonsense are you talking about? The evidence is irrefutable. How are you going to deny it? Dong Qingyun shouted. The irrefutable evidence you're talking about is nothing more than that video. But let me tell you, I also have evidence in my hands that can prove that you're the one who set all this up. The corners of Qin Feiyang's mouth lifted slightly, and he looked at Dong Qingyuan playfully. Dong Qingyuan was shocked. What evidence? What do you mean by that? The inner demons frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. He asked, Dong Qingyuan has something to do with the deaths of our family members? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. His voice suddenly became sonorous and powerful. There was even a hint of sharpness in it. He pointed at Dong Qingyuan and said, he planned all of this. The person who went to Blue Sun Mountain first was Dong Laifu. What? The inner demons turned to look at Dong Qingyuan in disbelief. Don't listen to their nonsense. Dong Qingyuan pretended to be calm and looked at Qin Feiyang. He said angrily, since you said that I set this up, then show us the evidence. He didn't believe that Qin Feiyang really had evidence in his hands, because only Dong Laifu, Heavenly Lord Ji, the monarch, and Old Wu knew about this. Even the Divine King, the supremacy of the human race, and Dong Tianxin didn't know. Are you sure you want evidence? The lunatic and the white-eyed wolf looked at him mockingly. Show us if you can. Dong Qingyuan sneered. That's what you said. Don't regret it later. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a figure suddenly appeared beside him. Dong Laifu. Dong Qingyuan's eyes trembled. What was going on? Why was Dong Laifu with Qin Feiyang? Dong Tianxin, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian, who were hiding in the distance, were also shocked. What was going on? Qin Feiyang glanced at Dong Qingyuan, then looked at the inner demons and Lu Jijin. He smiled and said, you two should be familiar with this person, right? Of course not. He is Dong Laifu, Dong Qingyuan's henchman from the Central Dynasty, the inner demons said. Qin Feiyang and the others knew about Dong Laifu's existence, but the people below didn't, so they had to reveal Dong Laifu's identity in advance. Qin Feiyang looked at the people below and said with a smile, you heard it, right? This man is Dong Qingyuan's henchman. He must be telling the truth. Everyone was silent. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, Dong Laifu, why don't you tell everyone what's going on? But before Dong Lifu could speak, Dong Qingyun's eyes flashed with killing intent as he shouted, Dong Lifu, how dare you collude with Qin Feiyang to frame me? I'll kill you, you bastard. Don't move. The inner demon stepped in front of Dong Qingyun and said, let Dong Lifu finish. Lu Yuntian, do you really believe Qin Feiyang's nonsense? Dong Qingyuan shouted, we'll know if it's nonsense after Dong Lifu says it. I don't want to say it again. If you dare to attack now, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Killing intent surged in the inner demon's eyes. Dong Qingyuan's face was ashen. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Qingyuan and said mockingly, you really can't kill Dong Lifu now. Otherwise, you'll be suspected of silencing him. You. Dong Qingyuan clenched his fists and glared at Dong Lifu. Think carefully before you speak. His words were laced with a threatening tone. Qin Feiyang turned to Dong Lifu and said with a smile, tell us everything you know. Yes. Dong Lifu nodded respectfully. He looked at Dong Qingyuan and said, I was the one who pretended to be Qin Feiyang and went to Blue Sun Mountain the first time. At that time I was ordered by Dong Qingyuan to test their strength. Dong Qingyuan. The inner demons and Dong Qingyuan were furious when Dong Lifu said this. They glared at Dong Qingyuan fiercely. Chapter 4297. That's not true. Dong Lifu is framing us. Dong Qingyuan said hurriedly. Don't worry. I'm not done yet. Qin Feiyang chuckled, looked at Dong Lifu and ordered, continue. The first time I went to test their strength and was seriously injured by them, forcing me to self-destruct. When I reported this to Dong Qingyuan, he thought of a plan to continue pretending to be Qin Feiyang and the others to kill Lu Yuntian's family, because Lu Yuntian's brother was not very enthusiastic about killing Qin Feiyang and the others. But because of their talent and strength, Dong Qingyuan did not dare to scold them, so he came up with this plan. He used the death of Lu Yuntian's family to provoke their anger. This way they would hate Qin Feiyang to the core and would definitely hunt down Qin Feiyang and the others. Dong Lifu said slowly. Dong Qingyuan was furious and roared, nonsense, nonsense, this is clearly your plan. Huh? You've confessed without being pressed. But before he could finish, the white-eyed wolf and the mad scientist laughed. Dong Qingyuan's face froze when he heard this. Wasn't this the same as confessing without being pressed? Dong Qingyuan. The inner demons and Lu Jijin glared at Dong Qingyuan, their eyes extremely terrifying. The people in the city below also looked at Dong Qingyuan in disbelief. How could he kill the people around him? That was too cruel. It's not like that. Seeing that he had become the target of public criticism, Dong Qingyuan hurriedly waved his hand to explain. See, I'll shut up. The inner demon said sternly. He looked at Dong Lifu and said, go on. Who was the one who pretended to be Qin Feiyang and killed our family members the second time? The one who pretended to be Qin Feiyang the second time was him. Dong Lifu suddenly pointed at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, what? Patriarch, is this true? The 10 lords of the purple gold divine dragon race looked at Heavenly Lord Ji in shock. Heavenly Lord Ji's face was gloomy as he glared at Dong Lifu and said furiously, you were clearly the ones who told me to go. It really is you. The inner demons and Lu Jijin gloomily stared at Heaven Lord Ji. Heavenly Lord Ji looked at Dong Qingyuan in panic. However, Dong Qingyuan closed his eyes and turned a deaf ear to Heavenly Lord Ji's request for help. He seemed to be trying his best to suppress the anger in his heart. Speak. Is it you or not? The inner demons spoke, their killing intent soaring to the heavens. Heavenly Lord Ji retracted his gaze, lowered his head, and pondered for a while. He sighed and said, yes, it's me, but they asked me to go. You should know Dong Qingyuan and the others' methods. If I don't go, I won't have a good ending. Bastard. The inner demons were furious. One more thing. Do you know who recorded this video? Who was the one who spread it? Qin Feiyang looked at the crowd and smiled. Who? The inner demons frowned. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Lifu. Dong Lifu said, this person is Old Man Wu of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race. He's actually a spy we planted in the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race. What? The Lord, Heavenly Lord Ji and the 10 Supremes were stunned. The Lord and Heavenly Lord Ji certainly knew, but at this moment they had to pretend not to know. Old Man Wu is a spy? Bastard. Great Supremes, go and capture Old Man Wu right now. The Lord shouted. Yes. The great supremes nodded and immediately opened a passage and left furiously. The other 9 supremes stared at Dong Qingyuan with a gloomy look. The people of the Central Dynasty had gone too far. How dare they plant a spy in the purple gold divine dragon race? Without a doubt, once Old Man Wu's identity was exposed, the entire purple gold divine dragon race would definitely be enraged. And this anger would undoubtedly be the fuse that would break the relationship between the purple gold divine dragon race and the Central Dynasty. What's going on? Why would the Central Dynasty plant a spy in the purple gold divine dragon race? Those of the human race and the god race were shocked. The purple gold divine dragon race was loyal to the Central Dynasty, but they still did this. This was too disappointing. The Divine King and the Supremes of the human race looked at each other and a glint of light flashed in their eyes. They turned to Qin Feiyang and asked, "Then, do we have a spy from the Central Dynasty?" In fact, they were hinting that they should take the opportunity to get rid of the spy around them. Qin Feiyang understood and his eyes glittered. He might as well get rid of the spy from the god race and the human race as well, because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The exposure of Old Wu as a spy had already aroused the anger of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. If the spies of the Human Clan and the Divine Clan were also exposed at this time, the Human Clan and the Divine Clan would definitely be furious. When the time came, maybe the monarch, the Divine King and the Supremes of the human race didn't even need to speak, and the people below would spontaneously resist the Central Dynasty's rule. This thought, Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Laifu and asked, "Do you have a spy from the human race and the god race?" "Yes." Dong Laifu nodded. "What?" The Divine King and the Supremes of the human race were furious and shouted, "Who?" At this moment, the 3 Supremes of the human race and the 10 Supremes of the god race were extremely frightened, because they were spies. 2 of the spies of the human race and the god race are here right now. They are the 3 Supremes of the human race and the 10 Supremes of the god race. Dong Laifu pointed at the 2 and said, "Swoosh." In an instant, everyone's gaze was focused on the 2 of them. "Supremes, it's not like that. You have to believe me." The 3 Supremes of the human race hurriedly waved their hands in extreme fear. "Lord Divine King, don't listen to his nonsense, I'm not." The 10 Supremes of the god race also shook their heads. "Shut up." The Divine King's face was as gloomy as water. The other 9 Supremes of the human race and the god race also looked at the 2 in disbelief. They never thought that their old friends who had been with them for so many years were actually spies of the Central Dynasty. The Supremes of the human race looked at Dong Laifu and asked, "Who else is there besides them?" Dong Laifu said, "There are 2 more. One is the master of the law enforcement hall of the human race, and the other is the city lord of the god race." Preposterous, preposterous. The Divine King and the Supremes of the human race were furious. They looked at the other Supremes of the 2 races and shouted, "Supremes, stay here. The rest of you go back and capture them." Yes. The 16 Supremes of the 2 races immediately opened the space-time tunnel and turned to leave. The 3 Supremes of the human race and the 10 Supremes of the god race looked at each other and flew behind Dong Qingyuan at the same time. "My lord, you must save us. Didn't you just say that you're not spies? Why are you running to Dong Qingyuan's side now?" The Divine King was furious. The 2 were extremely panicked. "Damn it. The god race has spies, and they're the 10 Supremes and the city lord of the god race. This is outrageous. 10 Supremes, do you still have a conscience? How dare you betray our race?" Many god race members in the city below glared at the 10 Supremes in anger. The humans in the city were also heartbroken about the 3 supremacies. "Did you see that? This is the Central Dynasty's method. Not only do they not trust the 3 races, they even attacked Lu Yuntian's family. They're completely inhumane. I'd like to ask everyone, is this Central Dynasty really worth your lives?" Qin Feiyang spoke at this time. His voice wasn't very loud, but it spread through the entire Qingtian city and fell clearly into everyone's ears. This was the perfect opportunity to add fuel to the fire and completely ignite the anger in the hearts of the 3 races. The moment these words were spoken, everyone fell into a dead silence. Everyone lowered their heads and remained silent. Think about it carefully. The Oceanic race and the Beast race have been hiding in the East continent and doing nothing, but they've been rewarded by the sovereign of the Divine Kingdom. I'm sure the dragon god and Neptune don't need me to say more about the origin energy. On the other hand, no matter what you three races do, you're always at the forefront. Take this invasion of the Sky Cloud realm for example. It's always the three races at the front. But now what have you gotten? You've gotten distrust and surveillance. May I ask, are you really willing to serve such people? If you say you're willing, then I can only scold you for being too stupid. You've never thought about the future of the three races. Qin Feiyang shook his head and mocked. The eyes of the three races trembled when they heard this. I'm not willing. Someone suddenly roared. It was the human race's great supremes. As a great supremes, he shouldn't have been the first to express his opinion, but he couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. Yes, it's not worth it. Today, the Central Dynasty can kill the families of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. In the future, they will definitely do the same to us. We must unite and resist the Central Dynasty's rule. This is the only way to preserve the dignity of our three races and protect our descendants. The others also roared, each of them filled with righteous indignation. Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other with a smile in their eyes. This was the result they wanted to see the most. In the current situation, it was no exaggeration to say that as long as the monarch, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race gave the order, the people of the three races would definitely follow them and resist the Central Dynasty. Everyone calm down. The monarch shouted. My lord, we can't calm down. It's the Central Dynasty that has gone too far. The supremes of the purple gold divine dragon race all shouted angrily. I know, but we can't betray the divine kingdom. The monarch sighed deeply. Monarch, do you know that this is blind loyalty? Qin Feiyang shook his head. This is our business. You don't have the right to interfere. The monarch glared at Qin Feiyang and said angrily, What's with your attitude? If it wasn't for us, would you have found these spies? You're so heartless. The madman harumphed coldly. The monarch clenched his hands and was about to speak. Buzz. But then, a space-time passage appeared. It was the purple gold divine dragon race's great supremes who had returned with Old Man Wu. Old Man Wu wasn't injured at all, so it seemed that the great supremes hadn't told him about this, so he was confused. Chapter 4298. But soon Old Wu realized that the atmosphere wasn't right. The reason for that was because the people of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan were looking at him with eyes filled with fury. What's going on? A trace of suspicion crept into his heart. But suddenly, he noticed Dong Laifu standing next to Qin Feiyang and the other two and was shocked. What was going on? Why was Dong Laifu standing next to Qin Feiyang and the other two? He's here. The king turned to look at him with disappointment in his eyes. Old Wu was a little nervous. Why did everyone look so strange? Do you know him? The king pointed at Dong Laifu and asked. Old Wu looked at Dong Laifu and nodded. Yes, he's from the Central Dynasty. Are you familiar with him? The king asked again. No. Old Wu shook his head. Not familiar. If you weren't familiar with him, would you go to Qingyang Mountain with Dong Laifu? If you weren't familiar with him, would you help him record the video of the Heavenly Lord killing Lu Yuntian's family and spread it overnight? The king roared. This Old Wu's face changed. Dong Laifu has already confessed. Are you still going to explain? The king's eyes flashed with killing intent, which made Old Wu feel like he was in an abyss. He quickly knelt in the void and said, It's not like that. Let me explain. What's there to explain? I really didn't expect you to betray us and be bought over by the Central Dynasty. The king was heartbroken. No, Dong Laifu forced me to do this. Old Wu shook his head. Bastard. The truth is right in front of you. You're still talking nonsense. Haven't the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race been good to you all these years? The king treats you like a brother. Tian Yu and the Heavenly Lord treat you like a grandfather. We, the 10 supremacies in the eyes of outsiders, are also polite to you. Is this how you repay us? The 10 supremacies of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race shouted. Old Wu was flustered looking at the angry group of people. Suddenly, he took a big stride forward and arrived behind Dong Qingyun. Panicked, he cried out, Save me, my lord. However, the moment Dong Qingyun closed his eyes, he did not open them again. No one knew what he was thinking at that moment. The anger on his face had also disappeared. He appeared abnormally calm, so calm that it was frightening. Wang. At this moment, the other sovereigns of the human race and the god race also arrived with the city lord of the divine city, and the lord of the disciplinary hall of Mount Supreme. The two of them were not as lucky as old Wu. His entire body was drenched in blood. His sea of qi had also been destroyed. Sovereign, please spare my life. Lord Divine King, please give me another chance. As soon as the two of them arrived, they immediately knelt in front of the Divine King and Jizun, crying and begging for mercy. Give you a chance. When you betrayed us, did you ever think about our feelings? A city lord of Godhead City and a hall lord of the Hall of Law Enforcement. You can say that we're handing over the lives and deaths of countless people to you. Is this how you repay us? The Divine King and Jizun's faces were gloomy. Sorry, we were confused for a moment. We will definitely repent. Give us another chance, please. The two of them were terrified. They never thought that one day, their identities would be found out. Shut up. The Divine King raised his hand and slapped the city lord of Godhead City's face. He said angrily, answer me, what exactly did the Central Dynasty give you? The two of them looked at Dong Qingyuan for help. Seeing that Dong Qingyuan turned a deaf ear to them, the two of them were desperate. Speak. The Divine King was furious. Nothing. At first, it was the Dragon God and Neptune who came to us. Later, the Dragon God and Neptune fell into the hands of Qin Feiyang. We thought this matter was over, and we even planned to stop being their informants. However, we didn't expect that Neptune had already told the Central Dynasty about our situation when he went to the Dragon God. A few days ago, Dong Lifu suddenly came to us and asked us to continue working for them. My lord, we had no choice. They're from the Central Dynasty. Do we dare to go against them? The two of them cried. Haha, the Divine King laughed and shook his head. Do you think we're stupid? The City Lord of Godhead City and the Hall Lord of the Hall of Law Enforcement of Mount Supreme have great power. If they didn't promise you anything, would you take such a big risk and betray us? We really didn't. The two of them hurriedly shook their heads. Say it again, did you or did you not? The Divine King stared at the two of them with murderous intent. The two of them were trembling. At the same time, Qin Feiyang looked at old Wu and the others with flickering eyes. That's right. There's definitely a reason why these people betrayed the Divine King, the King, and the Lord of Humanity. Even if they betrayed them because they wanted to get some benefits from Neptune and the Dragon God, now that Neptune and the Dragon God were dead, they still chose to continue working for the Central Dynasty. This meant that Dong Qingyuan must have promised them something. Why don't we just ask Dong Lifu if he promised them anything? Qin Feiyang smiled. The Divine King was a bit surprised and immediately looked at Dong Lifu. We did promise them some benefits. Saying that, Dong Lifu suddenly shook his head. No, to be exact, this was a condition that they brought up. What condition? The Divine King said in a low voice. Dong Lifu, don't talk nonsense. The City Lord roared. Pa! But before he could finish, the Divine King slapped him again. The City Lord spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was mangled and twisted. From this, one could see just how strong this slap was. If you dare say another word, I'll make you wish you were dead, the Divine King gloomily said. Then he looked at Dong Lifu and said, continue. They brought up different conditions. The City Lord's condition was to help him sit on the Divine King's throne in the future. This is because he has long been dissatisfied with your rule over the Divine King. As for the 10 sovereigns of your god race, his condition was to enter the Central Dynasty. Dong Lifu said, what? He wants to usurp my position as the Divine King. You're quite ambitious. The Divine King glared at the City Lord. She really didn't expect this person she had always trusted to be so ambitious. The City Lord was both panicked and desperate. And you? The Divine King then looked at the 10 sovereigns hiding behind Dong Qingyuan and sneered. Although it's said that men strive for greater heights and water flows to lower depths, your betrayal of your master is simply laughable. You are a disgrace to the god race. The 10 sovereigns lowered their heads, trembling in fear and not daring to speak. As expected, this is a wonderful show. Qin Feiyang and the other two exchanged glances, their faces full of smiles. This way, all the members of the god race would be even more dissatisfied with the central dynasty. The white-eyed wolf purposely asked loudly, Dong Laifu, what conditions did the hall master of the law enforcement hall, the third sovereign, and old Wu of the purple gold divine dragon race propose? Don't say it. We're begging you. The three looked at Dong Laifu in panic and roared. But Dong Laifu ignored them and said, Old Wu's condition is to help him obtain 3,000 clones. The hall master of the law enforcement hall and the third sovereign's conditions are similar to the two from the god race. One wants to enter the central dynasty and the other wants to become the sovereign of the human race. Old Wu and the other two slumped to the ground, their faces ashen. If they knew about this, the monarch and the human sovereign would not let them go. Why did it become like this? Why, how wonderful! The white-eyed wolf laughed and looked at the monarch and the other two. Let me ask you, are you surprised? The three's faces were dark. Qin Feiyong chuckled and looked at Dong Laifu. So you've agreed to their conditions? Yes. Dong Qingyuan agreed. Actually, in the eyes of the central dynasty, the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon race are just cannon fodder. Dong Laifu said. Bastard! And you're still treating us like cannon fodder. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty, let's rebel. This kind of sovereign, this kind of central dynasty, is not worth our lives. In front of them we don't even have the least bit of dignity. At these words, everyone from the three major races present couldn't help but roar. The monarch and the other two were silent. This was indeed a good opportunity to revolt. Because as long as they expressed their stance now, the people of the three major races would definitely follow them and rebel against the central dynasty. However, they hadn't figured out the foundation of the central dynasty yet, so they couldn't risk the fate of the three major races. So, they had to continue to endure. I really didn't expect things to develop to this point. In the distance, Dong Tianqian and the other two looked solemn. Yes, this Qin Feiyong is really terrifying. Such a sure-death situation. Not only did he solve it easily, but he also made the creatures of the four continents hostile to the central dynasty. If this matter continues, our divine kingdom will fall apart. At this moment, the three of them were full of fear toward Qin Feiyong and the others. In the past, they were afraid of the strength of Qin Feiyong and the others, but now they were afraid of the means of Qin Feiyong and the others. This was purely playing them in the palm of his hand, and they were powerless to refute. Haha! Suddenly, there was a loud laugh. Everyone looked at Dong Qingyuan. Now he was still in the mood to laugh? Was he stupid? Dong Qingyuan finally opened his eyes and scanned the city. In the end, he looked at Qin Feiyong and the other two. Instead of anger, his old face was full of admiration. What are you looking at? Do you suddenly feel that the three of us are very handsome and want to marry your granddaughter to us? The white-eyed wolf looked at him jokingly. Haha! Dong Qingyuan couldn't stop laughing as if he had gone crazy. The white-eyed wolf frowned. He couldn't take this blow. Was he really crazy? Amazing! Young people of the Divine Kingdom. No, even the older generation of the Divine Kingdom has to admit defeat in front of you. Dong Qingyuan gradually stopped laughing and looked at the three of them. Chapter 4299. You're praising us? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyong and the madman in shock. Was this old man crazy? What we've done is worthy of praise. The madman laughed shamelessly. The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. How could he be more shameless than him? However, Qin Feiyong didn't say anything. He just looked at Dong Qingyuan silently. Dong Qingyuan was so calm. Did he have something to rely on? Logically speaking, all of Dong Qingyuan's plans had been exposed by them, so he should have been driven to desperation. Especially Dong Laifu's betrayal. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible for them to be so calm. You guys are really powerful. Not only did you destroy my plan, but you also checkmated me. But so what? Even if the monarch and the others know about this, will they still attack me? Dong Qingyuan slammed the crutch in his hand, and a terrifying sovereign's aura rolled out. His entire body also exploded with a shocking aura. A sovereign divine weapon. Qin Feiyong and the others narrowed their eyes as they stared at the crutch in Dong Qingyuan's hand. This should be the pinnacle sovereign divine weapon that Dong Laifu mentioned. The monarch and the others also looked at the crutch in shock. Of course, they were no stranger to this crutch. As Dong Qingyuan had always carried it with him, they usually didn't see anything special about it. They never expected it to be such a terrifying sovereign divine weapon. Dong Qingyuan looked at the monarch and the others with a cold glint in his eyes. He said, "I order you to surround Qin Feiyang and the others immediately." The monarch and the others couldn't help but frown when they heard this. His attitude was still so arrogant. "What? Do you really want to rebel? Let me tell you, the divine kingdom can create you, and it can also destroy you." Dong Qingyuan's eyes were gloomy and overbearing. This caused the monarch and the other two monarchs to feel a surge of anger rising in their hearts. Did he really think he was someone important? Seeing Dong Qingyuan's domineering attitude, the spies also gained some confidence. The 10 reverends of the god race said, "Divine King Monarch, we're not betraying you at all. What did you say?" The divine kingdom stared at the 10 lords with undisguised killing intent. "Whether it's you or us, we're all citizens of the divine kingdom. We're loyal to the central dynasty and the lord ruler. What's wrong with that?" The 10 venerables coldly snorted. "That's right. Your vision is too small. Do you think that we should be loyal to you just because we are from the 3 major races? What a joke. Are you greater than the central dynasty and the lord ruler?" The 3 martial highnesses of the human race and Old Wu spoke too. All right. The monarch and the other 2 nodded. They were so angry that they laughed. Lord Dong Qingyuan is an emissary sent by the emperor. If you don't listen to his orders, you are rebelling. Do you know the consequences of rebelling? Therefore, you should listen to me obediently. Otherwise, the 3 tribes will be wiped out. The spies sneered. They couldn't be blamed for being so arrogant. It was all because Dong Qingyuan's current performance was too domineering. Unknowingly, it gave them a lot of confidence and courage. Little did they know, the monarch and the other 2 were already extremely angry. Now he was deliberately provoking them. Wasn't this the same as challenging their bottom line? Boom! Accompanied by a terrifying murderous aura, the divine king took a step forward and landed in front of the city lord of the divine city. He slammed his palm down. "No!" the city lord of the divine city screamed. Before he could celebrate, the god of death had already arrived. However, the divine king didn't show any mercy. As the power of law appeared, a shocking aura erupted. The city lord of the divine city screamed as blood splattered all over the sky. Immediately after, the divine king grabbed the city lord's divine soul. "Lord, please don't kill me," the city lord's divine soul wailed. This sudden scene was undoubtedly a wake-up call for the 3 martial highnesses, the 10 martial highnesses and Old Wu. His arrogance vanished in an instant, leaving behind only a look of horror. Especially the hall master of the law enforcement hall, who was paralyzed in front of the sovereign of the human race. He was so scared that he even peed. "Do you think Dong Qingyuan can protect you? Don't forget, this is the 4 great continents, not the central dynasty." The divine king smiled coldly and clenched his fist. The divine soul of the city lord immediately let out a mournful cry and was destroyed. Old Wu and the other 2 trembled. That's right. They were now in the 4 great continents. The master of the 4 great continents was the divine king, the sovereign of the human race. Here they had the final say. As for Dong Qingyuan, although he had a peak-level sovereign divine weapon, the powerhouses of the 3 races were not to be trifled with. Dong Qingyuan might not be their opponent. Moreover, isn't there a saying that goes like this? A strong dragon couldn't suppress a snake in its old haunts. No matter how high Dong Qingyuan's status was and how strong he was, in the 4 great continents, the emperor was far away. What could he do? More importantly, right now the people of the 3 major races all loathed Dong Qingyuan to the core. The central dynasty's actions had already aroused public anger. Previously, many people had already proposed to resist the central dynasty's rule. In such a situation, it was already very good that Dong Qingyuan could protect himself. How could he have the heart to protect them? At this moment, the great venerable of the human race also pointed at the hall master of the law enforcement hall, who was paralyzed in the void. He looked at the sovereign of the human race and asked, "Sovereign, should we kill this person? He betrayed his own race and has wild ambitions. Of course we must kill him." the sovereign of the human race said without hesitation. His tone was also murderous. Hearing this, the Great Venerable stepped in front of the Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall. Great Venerable, please don't kill me. I already know my mistakes and I promise to repent. Give me a chance. No, but before he finished speaking, the Great Venerable's palm fell, accompanied by a helpless scream. Blood splashed in the sky, and his body and divine soul were both shattered. Two overlords had died so tragically at the hands of a divine king and a Great Venerable. Old Wu and the other two, who were hiding behind Dong Qingyuan, were pale and trembling. The divine king and the sovereign of the human race had used practical actions to prove that the spies had to be killed. The divine king looked at Dong Qingyuan and said, "We're killing the spies in our race. You won't interfere, right?" Dong Qingyuan held his walking stick, and his eyes were frighteningly gloomy. This was obviously a slap to his face. Does he dare to interfere? If he dares to interfere, I'll kill him. The inner demon stared at Dong Qingyuan with murderous intent. How dare you? Dong Qingyuan suddenly looked at the inner demons. How dare you be so arrogant after killing my family? The inner demons grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. But this smile made people's hair stand on end. Lu Jiajin took a step forward and landed in front of Dong Qingyuan. Old man, it seems that you still don't know much about us. Do you really think that we won't dare to touch you just because you have the emperor's support? Dong Qingyuan was shocked and angry. But before he could say anything, a monstrous evil aura surged. The inner demons took a step toward Dong Qingyuan. The life and death laws and the ultimate mysteries of the six supreme laws appeared out of nowhere. He roared, "Old man, pay with your life for my family." Boom! Immediately, the seven ultimate mysteries charged toward Dong Qingyuan. Oh no! Protect the people of Qingtan City. The Lord was startled. Once a battle of this level started, the people would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. Before he finished speaking, the Lord and Heavenly Lord Ji activated their 3,000 clones at the same time. The power of Dharma laws appeared and formed a giant shield above the city. Boom! At the same time, the walking stick in Dong Qingyuan's hand also let out a dazzling light, and the power of a ruler appeared in all directions. If you dare to be presumptuous again, you and your brothers will never return to the central dynasty. As he shouted, the walking stick shattered the sky and attacked the seven ultimate mysteries. A peak-level ruler's divine weapon was indeed powerful. Even the life and death laws and the dual will of heaven couldn't compete with it, and were instantly destroyed. There's no point in returning to the central dynasty. Besides, do you think it's our loss that you won't let us return to the central dynasty? No, it's your loss. Because you've lost two real peerless talents. In the future, you'll have two more terrifying enemies because we can join forces with Qin Feiyang and attack the central dynasty. The inner demons sneered. Dong Qingyuan was startled. If that was the case, the Lord Emperor might not let him go. How did things develop to this point? Today you must die. Not even a peak-level ruler's divine weapon can stop me from killing you. The heart demon looked extremely ferocious as it charged towards Dong Qingyuan step by step. Its scarlet hair fluttered, and its baleful aura surged. Senior Wu and the other two, who were hiding behind Dong Qingyuan, could not help feeling frightened. Was this Lu Yuntian's courage and strength? He was simply an untamable beast. Clang! Dong Qingyuan was also very nervous. He swept the walking stick in the air and attacked the inner demons. How dare you do this with a peak-level ruler's divine weapon? Kneel down and surrender. The inner demons shouted. Murderous intent surged. In the next second, the Demon King true form was activated. Each of the Demon Kings was as large as a mountain, and the murderous intent they exuded was even more terrifying than the inner demons. Boom! The life and death laws ultimate mysteries, the six ultimate mysteries, and the dual wills of the Great Path were all activated in an instant. The walking stick, a peak-level ruler's divine weapon, couldn't help but tremble in the face of such a terrifying lineup, because its limit was equivalent to 1,000 low-level rulers' divine weapons. These 21,000 ultimate mysteries and the dual wills of the Great Path were enough to kill it instantly. Crack! As expected, in just an instant the walking stick broke into pieces. This was the inner demons being merciful and denying that this peak-level ruler's divine weapon had been destroyed. Surrender. The inner demons looked at the walking stick with an imposing aura and roared. Immediately, under Dong Qingyuan's furious gaze, the broken walking stick obediently submitted to the inner demons. This was the inner demons' method. Even a peak-level ruler's divine weapon had to surrender. Not to mention anything else, just the terrifying aura alone was enough to intimidate everything in the world. As expected of Qin Feiyong's inner demons. Not bad. This guy is even more terrifying than Qin Feiyong. The monarch stared at the inner demons, his eyes full of awe. Yes, if he had fought with us all these years, I'm afraid that our three races would have followed in the footsteps of the Sea Clan and the Beast Clan. The Divine King and the Human Clan supremacy thought to themselves. Although Qin Feiyong's methods were terrifying, he was a person who valued relationships. Once this heart demon went berserk, it would be a master who would not recognize anyone, and would kill everyone without mercy. Chapter 4300. As the cane surrendered, Dong Qingyuan's face became extremely ferocious. He shouted, "Dong Tianchen, Dong Exine, Dong Ping, come and help me. Dong Tianchen and the others are here too?" Everyone was shocked. Dong Tianchen and the other two's methods were obvious to all. If they came to help Dong Qingyuan, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng might not be able to defeat them. In the distance, Dong Tianchen and the other two frowned. Qin Feiyong was at the scene. If they attacked now, wouldn't it be asking them to court death? Hurry up. Are you going to disobey my orders too? Dong Qingyuan turned to look at the three and shouted. The three frowned and flew over. Do you dare to attack? Qin Feiyong looked at the three of them and chuckled. The three's pupils shrank and immediately stopped. Dong Tianchen was bound by the blood oath. Dong Ping and Dong Exine were also controlled by the soul-controlling technique. If Qin Feiyong wanted to kill them, it would be too easy. Dongqing, you have nowhere to go. The white-eyed wolf looked at him mockingly. Dong Qingyuan clenched his fists. Suddenly, a destructive aura rushed out of his body. Self-destruct? Qin Feiyong and the others were stunned. What was going on? Why did he choose to self-destruct? Didn't Dong Lifu say that he didn't leave his divine soul in the central dynasty? Qin Feiyong, just you wait. You will fall into my hands sooner or later. Dong Qingyuan stared at Qin Feiyong and smiled coldly. In the next moment, his body exploded, and a wave of destructive energy surged out in all directions. Go. Seeing that the situation was not good, Old Wu, the three supremacies of the human race, and the 10 supremacies of the god race turned around and ran. Want to run? The Lord smiled coldly. Accompanied by a loud clang, the divine dragon sword appeared and instantly erased the self-destruct wave. Then the divine dragon sword charged toward the three. No, the three screamed. They activated their ultimate profound meanings and charged toward the divine dragon sword. However, the divine dragon sword was a high-grade sovereign divine weapon. Among the three of them, Old Wu had not even grasped the will of the heavenly Tao. How could he be a match for the divine dragon sword? Following a miserable cry of despair, the three people's bodies shattered on the spot. Their souls ran out and fled in panic. Today, if I don't let you taste a fate worse than death, I'll be letting down your wild ambitions. The Divine King took a step forward, and the power of various laws emerged, turning into a terrifying storm that swept towards the souls of the three. No, I beg you. The three people's divine souls were engulfed by the storm. The wind blades were like sharp blades, cutting their divine souls. They kept begging, falling into the abyss of despair. Seeing this scene, not only did no one plead for them, their hearts were filled with joy. This is what a traitor deserves. Several hundred breaths passed. Under the endless pain, their souls were finally ground away bit by bit. Not even a single strand of hair was left. The Divine King finally vented his anger. With a wave of his hand, the storm dissipated. Peace gradually returned to the world. Dong Lifu, what's going on? Didn't you say that Dong Qingyuan didn't leave his divine soul in the central dynasty? Qin Feiyong turned to look at Dong Lifu and frowned. As far as I know, he didn't. Dong Lifu also looked suspicious. The madman glanced at Dong Lifu, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "He's controlled by the soul-controlling technique, so he definitely won't lie to us. It can only be said that Dong Qingyuan is too cunning. He even hid it from Dong Lifu." I wanted to get rid of him this time, but I didn't expect him to have a trick up his sleeve. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That was a bit regretful. Dong Qingyuan was not only the emperor's confidant, but also the manager of the Death God army. If he could be killed, it would be a great loss for the emperor of the Central Dynasty. It doesn't matter. If we can force him to self-destruct this time, we can still kill him next time. The madman waved his hand, not taking it seriously at all. To be honest, as long as the main forces of the Central Dynasty didn't arrive, he wasn't afraid. Heavenly Lord Ji, how do you want to die? Suddenly, a cold, bone-chilling voice sounded. Everyone was stunned and hurriedly looked at the inner demons and Lu Jijin, only to see the two of them staring at Heavenly Lord Ji with murderous intent in their eyes. Heavenly Lord Ji was also shocked and looked up at the two of them. Although it was Dong Qingyuan and the others who instigated this, our family members were indeed killed by you. So you must pay the price. The inner demons said. You, the king glared at the two of them. Father. Heavenly Lord Ji stopped the king and sighed. I really should give them an explanation for this matter. But it's not your fault. Dong Qingyuan and the others forced me to do this. The king hurriedly said. The supremacies also glared at the inner demons and roared. Every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. If you want to kill, go kill Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu. Do you want to die too? The inner demons looked at the group of supremacies with a fierce light in his eyes. Do you think we're afraid of you? The Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan is not to be trifled with. The supremacies made up their minds and activated their ultimate intents. The will of heaven erupted and the heavenly might shook the surroundings. No. Heavenly Lord Ji hurriedly stopped the 10 supremacies and said in a deep voice, they're not scary, but the Central Dynasty behind them is. Don't forget that they're now from the Central Dynasty and have the support of the Emperor. But, the 10 supremacies frowned. You don't have to say anything. I'll take care of it. Heavenly Lord Ji waved his hand and looked at the inner demons and said in a deep voice, I'll take responsibility for what I did. You can take my life if you want, but please don't take revenge on the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. You're quite benevolent. Okay. Then kill yourself. The inner demons sneered. Clan leader, no. You're our backbone. Besides, we're not afraid of the Central Dynasty. We'll fight them to the death. The 10 supremacies were extremely anxious. I know you're not afraid, but we can't fall out with the Central Dynasty now. Everyone must endure and wait for the right time. Heavenly Lord Ji said telepathically. This sentence clearly had a hidden meaning, but he didn't know if the 10 supremacies could understand it. Endure. Wait for the right time. The 10 supremacies pondered over this sentence. At the same time, Heavenly Lord Ji looked at the inner demons and said, Please do as you say. As his voice fell, a destructive aura rushed out of his body. Heavenly Lord. Clan leader. The king and the 10 supremacies roared. Boom! The next moment, Heavenly Lord Ji's body exploded. The Divine King sighed deeply and took out his high-grade sovereign weapon to quickly erase the explosion. Lu Yuntian Lu Yunfeng, I'm not done with you. The 10 supremacies roared and rushed toward the inner demons with murderous intent. Stop right there. The king shouted. King! The 10 of them stopped and turned to look at the monarch. The king shouted. The heavenly monarch used his death in exchange for the peace of our purple gold divine dragon race. Do you want to let down his efforts? But, the 10 venerables lowered their heads and clenched their fists tightly. No buts. This matter ends here. The monarch raised his head to look at the inner demons duo with a solemn expression. Are you satisfied now? Satisfied? 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 Please don't harass my purple gold divine dragon clan anymore. Let's go. With that, he opened a space-time tunnel and led the 10 venerables away without looking back. Qin Feiyang Madman Emo Golden Winged Wolf King. Seeing that you helped us find the spy, we won't hunt you down this time. However, don't blame us for being merciless the next time we meet. The Divine King looked at Qin Feiyang and said coldly. Then, he opened a space-time tunnel and left with the 9 venerables. The supreme being of the human clan silently glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other 2. Then, he turned around and left with the 9 supreme beings. Soon, there were only Qin Feiyang, the mad scientist, the white-eyed wolf, Dong Laifu, the inner demons, and Lu Jijin left. The people in the city looked at the king and the others leaving, then looked at Qin Feiyang and the others in the sky and were filled with emotions. They were supposed to go after Qin Feiyang and the other two. But in the end, Qin Feiyang and the other two weren't injured at all. They didn't even attack from the beginning to the end. On the contrary, Heavenly Monarch Ji, Dong Qingyuan and Old Lord Wu died one after another. Although Old Lord Wu and the other spies deserved to die, it was undeniable that it was a loss for the three races. What a pity for Heavenly Monarch Ji. Although he's the leader of the Purple Gold Dragons, he's really nice. It's all Dong Qingyuan's fault. No, the Central Dynasty deserves to die. They used all kinds of despicable methods to deal with Qin Feiyang and the others, but in the end, the three races were implicated. What are the king, the divine king, and the lord of the human race thinking? The Central Dynasty has already treated us like this. Why aren't we fighting back? Are we going to wait for death? People were filled with indignation. Their hatred for the Central Dynasty rose to an unprecedented level. Seeing all this, Qin Feiyang and the other two revealed a trace of a smile in their eyes. This result was even more perfect than they had anticipated. They had the right time and place. Now they just needed to find out the power of the Central Dynasty, and then they could directly declare war. Cousin, let's meet at the Thousand Phoenix Mountain later. I've also made an appointment with the king and the others. They'll all come later. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Lu Jijin replied. Even he couldn't help but praise Qin Feiyang's plan this time. A few spies were only a small problem. Provoking the anger and hatred of the three races against the Central Dynasty was the biggest reward. Qin Feiyang coughed and looked at the inner demons and Lu Jijin. He smiled and said, "Shall we continue?" Hearing this, the people below couldn't help but look at them. The strength of Qin Feiyang and the others was obvious. Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng weren't simple people either. If these people were to fight, it would definitely be an exciting battle. I'm not in the mood today. But there will be a battle between us sooner or later. Heart Demon snorted coldly. He took the Broken Peak level Dominator divine weapon, opened a space-time tunnel and left. Lu Jijin looked at the three and said, I apologize for what happened today and also thank you. Otherwise, we would have been used by Dong Qingyuan. No need. We did it for ourselves. Otherwise, the world would have thought that we killed your family. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Of course, he said this on purpose for the people below to hear. We'll meet again. Lu Jijin cupped his hands and entered the space-time tunnel. Soon he disappeared without a trace. Chapter 4301. The madman was secretly unhappy. The inner demons really don't know what's polite. Directly taking the Peak Sovereign weapon, he was the one who killed Dong Qingyuan. If I don't give it to him, should I give it to you? The white-eyed wolf looked down on him. Do I look like such a greedy person? You're a hypocrite. You speak so righteously, but in your heart, you can't wait to snatch it. The madman secretly laughed. You even know this? Are you a worm in my stomach? The white-eyed wolf looked at him jokingly. Scram. The madman's face was dark. Don't be so disgusting, okay? Enough. But with this Peak Sovereign weapon in our hands, we're the ones who benefit. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. That's true, but if this sovereign weapon is in the hands of the inner demons, what if the emperor asks him to hand it over when he returns to the Central Dynasty? The madman frowned. Wouldn't that be a waste of effort? Qin Feiyang laughed. Do you think with the inner demon's personality, he will still hand it over when it's in his hands? The madman was stunned. Suddenly he laughed out loud. Indeed. With the inner demon's temper, not to mention the emperor, even if the sovereign of the divine kingdom appeared, he might not necessarily hand it over. What are they laughing about? The people in the city below looked at the three people in the sky suspiciously. Do you still need to think? There's no doubt that they are the biggest winners in this game. If it were me, I would also laugh. Yes. How terrifying. It feels like no matter what, nothing can stop them. Everyone murmured. Qin Feiyang looked down at the city below and laughed. Although I'm from the Sky Cloud realm, to be honest, the Central Dynasty's attitude towards the three races is not pleasing to the eye even for an outsider like me. So in the future, if you want to resist the Central Dynasty's rule, Feel free to come to me. What's in it for us? Will you be kind enough to help us? Someone asked. Qin Feiyong laughed. He was afraid that no one would ask, because if no one asked, it meant that there was no chance. Of course, as long as you renounce the darkness and join the light. To show my sincerity, I'll give you a good fortune now. Qin Feiyong smiled. What good fortune? Everyone was bewildered. White-eyed wolf and madman also looked at Qin Feiyong in confusion. What was going on this time? A moment passed. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and ultimate law's inheritances appeared out of thin air. After waiting for so long, he wasn't purposely keeping everyone in suspense. Instead, he was waiting for Fire Lotus to prepare. This was because all the nomological legacies were in the hands of the Fire Lotus. The people in the city were in an uproar. There were at least 10,000 ultimate profound inheritances. The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. These ultimate profound legacies were only ordinary laws. However, even if they were ordinary laws, there were 10,000 of them. It was still a huge treasure. Old Qin, this guy must be crazy, taking out so many legacies to give to these irrelevant people? Over the years, we've come to Clear Sky City many times and caused a lot of trouble for everyone. So, take this as a little compensation for everyone. Qin Feiyong smiled. With a wave of his hand, the 10,000 ultimate profound legacies turned into streams of light and flew to every corner of Clear Sky City. Quick! That's mine. Don't snatch it. The people in the city went crazy and scrambled to snatch it. Ordinary ultimate law's inheritances weren't worth much to people like Qin Feiyong, but to ordinary people, they were priceless. You can snatch it, but you can't kill anyone. Otherwise, I'll take it all back. Qin Feiyong spoke, and his gentle voice entered everyone's ears. Some people had already started fighting, but when they heard this, they quickly stopped. White-eyed wolf raised his hand and touched Qin Feiyong's forehead. He turned to Madman and said suspiciously, "This guy doesn't have a fever." Really? Madman didn't believe it and also raised his hand to touch Qin Feiyong's forehead. He really didn't have a fever. But why would he do such a crazy thing? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and said speechlessly, "Back then, we robbed the sea race and beast race of their ultimate profound legacies and obtained more than 700,000 ordinary ultimate laws inheritances. What's the big deal about giving them 10,000? But the two frowned. I know you feel distressed. Instead of giving it to them, it's better to give it to the people of the Black Tortoise world and Skycloud world. But, have you thought about what benefits these 10,000 legacies can bring us? Qin Feiyong smiled. Benefits? White-eyed wolf was stunned and said suspiciously, "Are you trying to buy people's hearts?" Yes. Although the monarch and the others have already formed an alliance with us, the people below must be very resistant to us. So, I suddenly thought of this idea to give them some benefits. This way, they will feel that we are still very good in their hearts. Qin Feiyong laughed secretly. So that's how it is. Madman nodded and said disdainfully, "You are indeed a sly old fox. Do you know how to speak?" Qin Feiyong stared at the two. This was to prepare to overthrow the central dynasty. How was he a sly old fox? Suddenly, White-eyed wolf scanned the void and said suspiciously, "Where are Dong Tianchun, Dong Ping and Dong Xian?" Qin Feiyong and Madman were stunned. They couldn't help but look up and scan the void, but they really didn't see any figures of the three. They sneaked away when we weren't paying attention? White-eyed wolf frowned. I guess so. They are afraid that we will attack them. Madman nodded. If we attack them now, do we still need to spend so much effort? White-eyed wolf sneered, looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "Do you want to kill them?" Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and waved his hand. "Let's keep them for now. Anyway, they can't do anything now. Moreover, Dong Ping and Dong Xian are controlled by the soul controlling technique. When the time comes, we might be able to give the central dynasty a surprise. As for Dong Laifu, now he has no value. Dong Laifu self-destruct. Even in the face of such an order, Dong Laifu didn't hesitate or resist. His divine soul flew out from the top of his head and immediately shattered in the void. His corpse also immediately fell down to the city below. From the beginning, Qin Feiyong didn't intend to let Dong Laifu go, because all the plans against them were basically thought of by Dong Laifu. Dong Qingyuan nodded in agreement. From this it could be seen how ruthless Dong Lifu was. Such a person would definitely not be left alive. Below, after a few hundred breaths of crazily snatching, the 10,000 ultimate inheritances were finally snatched. Someone snatched one. Someone snatched 2 inheritances. A few lucky people even snatched 3 or 4 inheritances. This made them extremely excited, because this was the inheritance of the ultimate profound, not the epitome of the laws. This was equivalent to a gift from the heavens, a great fortune. Those who didn't snatch it were disappointed. Brother Qin, can you give us some more? Someone looked up at the sky unwillingly. Even the way they addressed him had changed. But in the sky, the figures of Qin Feiyang and the other 2 could no longer be found. The 3 of them had already left at some point. Thousand Phoenix Mountain. On a mountain peak, 2 black figures stood silently at the edge of the cliff. They glanced at the vast mountains and rivers in front of them with smiles on their faces. It was the inner demons in Lu Jijin. Buzz. After a while, a time passage appeared. The inner demons in Lu Jijin looked up and saw 3 young men walking out. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang and the other 2? Here. Lu Jijin waved his hand. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked down with a smile on their faces and landed on the mountain peak. The white-eyed wolf immediately went up to the inner demons and said with a smile, "Little devil, let me take a look at that peak-level sovereign divine weapon." Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other and smiled helplessly. As expected, this guy had always been thinking about this divine weapon. What are you looking at? There's nothing to look at. The inner demons glanced at him and directly refused. How could he not know the white-eyed wolf's character? Once he took it out, he could forget about taking it back. Damn. Are you guarding against thieves? We are brothers. The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Yes, I am guarding against thieves. Guarding against thieves like you. The inner demons nodded. He didn't give him any face at all. The white-eyed wolf was so angry that his teeth itched. Wait. Qin Feiyang suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked, "Where did you put this divine weapon? We can't let it know about our relationship yet." After all, it was a peak-level sovereign divine weapon. If it suddenly betrayed them, wouldn't they be in trouble? Don't worry. We've already thought of this. We've already forced it to make a blood oath that it will forever be loyal to us, and now it's sealed in my space divine item. The inner demons said. That's good. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief. No. Didn't you say that your space divine item was confiscated by the central dynasty before you left? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Idiot. The inner demons rolled his eyes. Why are you suddenly scolding me? Is it because I haven't taught you a lesson in a long time and you're itching for a beating? The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Yo, I'm itching for a beating. What can you do about it? The inner demons yelled and looked at the white-eyed wolf provocatively. If you're itching for a beating, I'll beat you up. The white-eyed wolf's gaze was unfriendly. Come on, don't be polite. I'm right here. Come and beat me up. The inner demons bared his teeth and hooked his finger. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang and Lu Jijin looked at each other with smiles on their faces. This was the way they were familiar with each other. Brother Wolf, you can't blame the inner demons for calling you an idiot. Think about it. With his and Lu Jijin's strength, is it difficult to find another space divine item in the 4 great continents? The madman looked at the white-eyed wolf mockingly. The white-eyed wolf's expression stiffened and he said angrily, "Do I need you to say that? I don't know. I'm just fooling around with him and nurturing the brotherly relationship that we've lost for many years. You really don't have any foresight at all." The madman's mouth twitched. He could even come up with such a lame excuse. He was indeed a genius. Buzz. At this moment, 3 space-time passages appeared one after another. The person who came was the monarch, the divine king, the sovereign of the human race. And beside the monarch, there was another person. This person was Ji Yunhai. Ji Yunhai? Looking at Ji Yunhai, whether it was Qin Feiyang's group of 3 or the inner demons, they couldn't help but frown. At the same time, Ji Yunhai looked at Qin Feiyang's group and his heart was very nervous. Because after forming the alliance, this was the first time he came into direct contact with Qin Feiyang's group. Moreover, recalling the slaughter he had committed in the Sky Cloud Boundary and the Nether King's Hell, his heart was beating like a drum. After all, these past events couldn't be erased. Why did you bring him here? The madman looked at the divine king, his expression full of displeasure. Although Ji Yunhai had passed the monarch's test, he was still very resistant to this person. In the future, he will be the acting patriarch of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. I will definitely bring him here to meet you and have a chat. The monarch smiled faintly. In fact, he also knew that Qin Feiyong's group was very resistant to Ji Yunhai. It was also because of this that he brought Ji Yunhai with him, hoping to resolve the previous grudges. There's nothing to talk about. The madman coldly snorted. Right now, he could restrain his killing intent and not make a move on Ji Yunhai. This was already his greatest limit. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf actually had an indifferent attitude towards Ji Yunhai. Although Ji Yunhai also appeared when the Divine Kingdom invaded the Sky Cloud boundary, he didn't bring any actual harm to the Sky Cloud boundary. Moreover, it was Ji Yunhai who suffered a great loss every time. However, the madman couldn't do it, because the madman and Ji Yunhai already had a great hatred in their previous life. Chapter 4302. What's wrong, this is? A familiar voice rang out. A divine soul flew out from the king's body and transformed into a human figure. It was Heavenly Lord Ji. He looked at Madman and Ji Yunhai suspiciously. This was a divine soul that he split out in advance. Uncle, there are some things you don't know. We can forgive Ji Yunhai, but not little Madman. The white-eyed wolf sighed. Why? Not only Heavenly Lord Ji, the king, the divine king, and the human race's supremes were also puzzled. The white-eyed wolf looked at Madman and sighed deeply. You guys don't know, but little Madman is actually the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. What? The four of them were stunned. They really didn't know about this matter. Because in the past, Madman had always said that he had obtained the inheritance of the Blood Demon King, which was equivalent to being the Blood Demon King's disciple. But they didn't expect him to be the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. No wonder Madman didn't like Ji Yunhai so much. Of course, the most shocked was Ji Yunhai. Back then, the Blood Demon King died in his hands. Think about it, how could Madman let go of his enemy in his previous life? So, if I don't kill you now, you should thank the gods. Don't hang around in front of me in the future. Otherwise, if I can't bear it one day, don't blame me for being ruthless. Madman snorted coldly. Ji Yunhai smiled embarrassedly. Indeed, with Madman's current strength, it was too easy to kill him. Although he had already inherited 3,000 incarnations, opened the door of potential, and obtained the ultimate inheritance, he hadn't successfully fused these inheritances. Without the will of the heavenly Tao, even if he had 3,000 incarnations, he might not be able to block Madman's all-evil sword. Moreover, if they really fell out, then as Madman's brothers, Qin Feiyong and the White-Eyed Wolf would definitely help. If Qin Feiyong and the White-Eyed Wolf also made a move, then even if he controlled the will of the heavenly Tao, he would only be waiting for death. Alright. For these grudges, we can slowly resolve them in the future. The monarch waved his hand and smiled, breaking the heavy atmosphere. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, Now I will hand your uncle over to you. You have to ensure his safety. Father, why are you joining in the commotion? What uncle? Isn't this messing up the seniority? Ji Tianjun looked at his old father speechlessly. Haha. The king laughed heartily and looked at the inner demons and Lu Jijin. He cupped his hands and said, Gentlemen, I'll leave the rest to you. We need to figure out the strength of the Death God army as soon as possible. Don't worry. We'll prepare to return to the Central Dynasty. Lu Jijin nodded. So fast? Qin Feiyong and the others frowned. Strike while the iron is hot. Lu Jijin smiled. But you've offended Dong Qing'an. Wouldn't it be dangerous for you to return to the Central Dynasty now? If Dong Qing'an tries to harm you by then, we can do nothing in the four great continents. The Divine King was rather worried. Thank you for your concern, Senior. But Dong Qingyuan is no longer a threat. This time he made such a big mistake in the four great continents and caused the beings of the four great continents to resist the Central Dynasty. If the Emperor knows about this, he won't let him go easily. In short, he can't even protect himself now. How would he be in the mood to deal with us? Besides, it's not our fault that we killed him and took his divine weapon. He set us up first. Lu Jijin smiled. That makes sense. The Divine King, the human lord Ji Yunhai and Ji Tianju nodded. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and asked, "Cousin, why don't you try and see if you can take us to the central dynasty?" Huh? Lu Jijin looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Don't you have a space divine item now? As long as we hide in your space divine item, we can easily sneak into the central dynasty. The white-eyed wolf said, "You're oversimplifying the problem. There are people guarding the entrance of the central dynasty. Even Dong Tianshan and the others have to go through their inspection before they can enter the central dynasty, let alone us." Lu Jijin shook his head. So strict? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. Was there really no way to sneak into the central dynasty? You don't have to rush to the central dynasty. Before the main force of the central dynasty arrives, you should increase your strength quickly. Once the main force arrives, it will be a tough battle. Lu Jijin looked serious. All right, then we'll go to the central dynasty in the future. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Lu Jijin thought for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. Also, what do you plan to do with Dong Tianshan and the others? Whatever. The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf shrugged. They could kill them or not. Keep them for now. They'll probably follow you back to the central dynasty this time. Keep an eye out for them when you're there. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Lu Jijin nodded. He looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 3 and the monarch's group with a smile on his face. When we return to the central dynasty, Heart Demon and I will try our best to delay the time, giving you enough time to cultivate. The main force of the central dynasty is already on the way. How are you going to delay them? Everyone was doubtful. Simple. When we meet them on the way, we'll just tell them to go back. Lu Jijin smiled. The Divine King frowned. It's not that I doubt your ability. After all, they're big shots in the central dynasty. Can you make them go back? How will we know if we don't try? Anyway, we'll try our best. Take this opportunity to cultivate. Lu Jijin smiled. Thank you. The Divine King cupped his hands. They really needed time now. If Lu Jijin and the inner demons could really do it, it would be a great help to them. We're all on the same side. Don't be so polite. Lu Jijin waved his hand and smiled. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and said, "Live well. In the future we have to go back together. None of us can be left behind." Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Then they looked at Lu Jijin and the inner demons and said, "You too? Then let's go our separate ways." Lu Jijin laughed and then opened a space-time passage and left. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly looked at the inner demons and said, "Little demon, let's talk again. Do you think I want to talk to you?" The inner demons rolled his eyes and followed Lu Jijin into the space-time passage without looking back. I've never seen such a petty person. The white-eyed wolf grumbled. The king looked at the white-eyed wolf curiously and asked, "What do you want to talk to him about? What else?" "He's thinking about Dong Qingyuan's pinnacle dominator divine weapon." The madman pursed his lips. Heard about it. The king and the others couldn't help but laugh. The human race supreme being looked at the space-time passage that disappeared, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, you the inner demons and your big cousin are both amazing people." His words were full of praise. For the sake of the big picture and the common people, they entered the central dynasty alone. This courage and boldness was unparalleled. Yes, Qin Feiyang nodded. Whether it was the inner demons or his big cousin, they were all his pride. He was proud of them. Phew. The king took a deep breath and said with a smile, "With Dong Qingyuan's self-destruction, this matter has temporarily come to an end. Everyone, quickly go back and cultivate in seclusion." Okay. The Divine King and the human race supreme being nodded. Ji Yunhai suddenly said, however, "There are some things that we can't stop." "What is it?" The king looked at him suspiciously. Although now the creatures of the 4 continents are already resentful of the central dynasty, if we just let it go like this, it might be slowly forgotten by the world after a long time. So we have to add fuel to the fire from time to time, so that the dissatisfaction of the people towards the central dynasty will not decrease but increase, Ji Yunhai said. Hearing this, the king and the others couldn't help but nod in praise. Ji Yunhai was indeed a bit smart to be able to think of such small details. Ji Yunhai pondered for a while and said, "Actually, we can strike while the iron is hot and persuade the venerables of our three races first." Persuade them? The king, the divine king, and the human race supreme being were stunned. That's right. Ji Yunhai nodded and said with a smile, "The venerables of the three races are all people of virtue and prestige. As long as we can persuade them, it will be much easier for us to rise and revolt in the future with their help." Speaking of this, Ji Yunhai looked at the divine king and the human race supreme being, and said, "And with their help, the two of you don't have to do everything by yourself. That makes sense." The divine king's eyes lit up, looked at the king and said unhappily, "In the past, you had Heavenly Lord Ji to help you, and now you have Ji Yunhai to help you, and the venerables and I have always been doing things by ourselves. It's really a bit tiring." "That can't be helped. Who asked you to not have a trustworthy person by your side?" The king laughed proudly. Hearing this, the divine king and the human race supreme being couldn't help but roll their eyes. Ji Yunhai shook his head and smiled. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "I can go make arrangements for that. However, when the time comes, I will still need you to show yourself. Only by showing yourself will it be convincing enough." "Okay." Qin Feiyong nodded. Ji Yunhai took out the divine sound transmission stone. The meaning was obvious. Qin Feiyong smiled and also took out the divine sound transmission stone. The two of them established a contract bridge with each other. Then, Ji Yunhai looked at the white-eyed wolf and the madman. The white-eyed wolf scratched his head and nodded, "Okay, just take it as giving face to the king and uncle." Then he took out the divine sound transmission stone. But the madman directly ignored it. Ji Yunhai smiled bitterly and didn't force it. After establishing the contract bridge with the white-eyed wolf, he put away the divine sound transmission stone, because some things still needed a process. "Then that's it for now. Heavenly Lord, I've fulfilled your wish and let you go to the Black Tortoise world. But you better not be lazy in the Black Tortoise world." The king stared at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, "Father, I'm your son, don't you know my character?" Heavenly Lord Ji was helpless. "It's because you're my son that you should work hard." The king said, Yes. I'll definitely work hard." Heavenly Lord Ji nodded repeatedly. He was already so old, but the king still treated him like a child. Chapter 4303. Second brother, let's go then. The king looked at Ji Yunhai and smiled. And Ji Yunhai nodded. Before leaving, he looked at the madman and let out a sigh. If he knew this would happen, why did he do it in the first place? However, who would have thought that one day the three races would fight side by side with the Sky Cloud realm? If one had to give a conclusion, then it could only be said that it was an ill-fated relationship. The Divine King and the human race's supreme being also didn't stay and opened a space-time tunnel to leave. After sending these people away, Ji Yunhai let out a long sigh. "Uncle, what's with your expression? Why do you feel a little liberated?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Ji Yunhai with ridicule. "For me, this is liberating. I can finally breathe fresh air and see a different world." Heavenly Lord Ji chuckled. "Is it that tiring? Others would be eager to sit in your position. You are a typical example of not knowing how lucky you are." The white-eyed wolf despised him. "Lucky?" Ji Yunhai was slightly taken aback and shook his head with a smile. "It's my personal opinion." This was the truth. Some people liked power in the limelight. However, some people like to live a life without worries and just go with the flow. Ji Yunhai was obviously the latter. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and laughed. "Since we helped you get rid of it, shouldn't you thank us? What do you want?" Ji Yunhai immediately stared at the white-eyed wolf with vigilance. "What's with your attitude? Without us, would the king have let you go?" The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. "Come on. You have the law inheritance, the spirit vein, and the crystal vein. What else do you want? Also, don't call me uncle anymore. According to seniority, you should call me ancestor, understand?" Ji Yunhai's face darkened. It was really easy to call him uncle all day. Okay. You are the elder, you have the final say. Ancestor, how are you going to thank us?" The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Ji Yunhai was speechless. "Why can't you be a saint? Don't ask for anything in return. Besides, they were all a family. There was no need to talk about gratitude. Wasn't that treating him as an outsider? Petty. The white-eyed wolf pouted. The corner of Heavenly Lord G's mouth twitched as he said angrily, I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. You shouldn't have wasted your breath on him. Argue with him. He can talk to you endlessly for 10 days to half a month. Madman looked at the white-eyed wolf with disdain. Scram. I'm just being reasonable, okay? Who's talking nonsense? The white-eyed wolf was displeased. To hell with your great principles. Madman sneered. Heavenly Lord G shook his head and chuckled. These brats were indeed a little fun. He hesitated for a moment and looked at Frenzy with a smile. Little Frenzy, you, uncle, stop for a moment. I know what you want to say. However, this is a grudge between me and Ji Yun Hai. Please do not interfere. But don't worry, I won't act recklessly in the face of the big picture. Madman waved his hand. All right. Heavenly Lord G nodded helplessly. If he really wanted to talk about this matter, the fault lay with his father, the monarch. Because back then, Ji Yun Hai was also ordered by the monarch to go to the Sky Cloud realm. If he were to investigate further, this fault would be placed on the Central Dynasty and the Divine Kingdom's ruler because his father, the monarch, was also acting under orders. However, no matter whose order it was, Madman did indeed die in the hands of Ji Yun Hai in his previous life. And the Nether King's hell was indeed plunged into misery and suffering because of Ji Yun Hai's arrival. It was normal for Madman to not be able to get over this hurdle in his heart. We'll talk about these things later. Let's go to the Black Tortoise realm first. Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. With a wave of his hand, a group of 4 immediately appeared in the Black Tortoise realm's tea garden. Every time he saw the tea trees in the tea garden, Heavenly Lord Ji couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. To be able to get so many divine tea trees from 9th Master Ji, there was probably only this Qin Feiyong in the world today. Seriously. It seems that I haven't visited those old men for a long time. Qin Feiyong laughed. Didn't you go there when you killed Dong Hanzong? Madman was suspicious. How can it be the same? Visiting them means to visit them without any other factors or motives. Qin Feiyong shook his head, pondered for a moment and smiled. Anyway, aren't we going to cultivate in seclusion? Why don't we go to the village and accompany them? Accompany them? A trace of disdain crawled up in the white-eyed wolf's eyes and said, You want to go to 9th Master Ji's tea garden, right? Don't talk nonsense. Qin Feiyong's face darkened and said angrily, Am I such a greedy person? You definitely won't be greedy for other things, but for the divine tea tree. Everyone knows. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Qin Feiyong laughed dryly, looked at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, Uncle, how about I take you to reconstruct your divine soul and body first? Okay. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. He had long wanted to see the power of the Eye of Life. As for calling him uncle, he didn't have the energy to complain, as long as he didn't call him Big Brother. If he called him Big Brother, it would completely mess up the seniority. The white-eyed wolf suddenly said, By the way, uncle, does your son know that you faked your death? He doesn't know. Heavenly Lord Ji shook his head and sighed. How would I dare to tell him such a thing? That's true. If you tell a brainless person like him, he might tell others in the blink of an eye. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Hey, can't you give me some face? He's my son after all. Heavenly Lord Ji said angrily. Ha, it's the truth. The white-eyed wolf smiled. Heavenly Lord Ji's veins were bulging. Who were these people? Then when you self-destructed in Qingtian City, does he hate us very much? The white-eyed wolf asked again. Although Heavenly Lord Ji was forced to self-destruct by the inner demons, this matter was also related to them, because they were the ones who exposed everything. Of course. If he doesn't hate you, I'll teach him a lesson. Because this proves that he's an unfilial white-eyed wolf. Heavenly Lord Ji said. That's interesting. If he sees us in the future, he'll definitely fight us to the death. The white-eyed wolf's eyes were full of evil smiles. What do you want? Let me tell you, I only have one son, and I'm still waiting for him to carry on the family line. Heavenly Lord Ji glared at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand and said, It's okay if you don't mind. You can also take little lunatic as your godson, and he'll help you carry on the family line. Me? Help him carry on the family line. Lunatic pointed at his own nose and looked at the white-eyed wolf with a stunned face. That's right. If you really become Uncle's son, then you can openly take advantage of little Qinzi in the future. At that time, if he doesn't obediently call you ancestor, I think even the king won't let him off. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Qin Feiyong's mouth kept twitching. So did Heavenly Lord Ji and Lunatic. Their foreheads were full of black lines. What the hell is this? No. This damn wolf cub, he's not a good person at all. After Heavenly Lord Ji's divine soul and body were reconstructed, Qin Feiyong personally brought Heavenly Lord Ji to an uninhabited courtyard. Although no one lived in it, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang helped to take care of it, so the courtyard was very clean. This was where Heavenly Lord Ji would live in the future. After settling down, Qin Feiyong also said that Heavenly Lord Ji could go anywhere in the Black Tortoise world as long as he was willing. After chatting for a while, Qin Feiyong and the other two left the Black Tortoise world. The village. It was still quiet and peaceful. In the sky above the mountains, Qin Feiyong and the other two walked side by side. Now that they came to the village, it was like coming home. There was no unfamiliar aura at all. Qin Feiyong looked at the village from afar and said with a smile, "We came here to show our filial piety, right?" Yes. The two nodded. Since it's filial piety, shouldn't we prepare some gifts? Qin Feiyong glanced at the white-eyed wolf. What do you want? I'm telling you, don't have any ideas about me. The white-eyed wolf flashed behind Lunatic and guarded against Qin Feiyong like he was guarding against a thief. Don't use me as a shield. Lunatic took a step away and glared at the white-eyed wolf. You have no loyalty. The white-eyed wolf grumbled. Stop talking nonsense. Qin Feiyong glared at him and asked, when Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu visited us at Blue Sun Mountain, what was the gift they gave you? What does it have to do with you? The white-eyed wolf immediately covered the interspatial ring, fearing that Qin Feiyong would snatch it. Do you think we won't know if you don't tell us? What else can make you care so much except for the divine brew? Lunatic said with disdain. Seeing that Lunatic had exposed him, the white-eyed wolf laughed dryly. Take out all the divine brews. Qin Feiyong stretched out his hand. Why? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Of course, give them to the old master and the others. Qin Feiyong was speechless. How could he not understand this? Was he stupid? It wasn't that the white-eyed wolf didn't understand, but he was playing dumb. For him, asking for these divine brews was asking for his life. Why should I? Besides, why must we give them the divine brews? Doesn't Lord Zhou like drinking tea? You can give him some tea leaves. The white-eyed wolf kept shaking his head, saying that he didn't want to give it to him. Qin Feiyong said angrily, my tea leaves are all from him. Won't you be laughed at if you ask me to give these tea leaves? I won't give it to him anyway. The white-eyed wolf turned his head and looked away. Qin Feiyong and Lunatic looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. The white-eyed wolf cared about wine almost as much as Lord Zhou cared about tea. While talking, the three of them landed at the entrance of the village. At this time the sky was still dark. There were no candles in the village, and it was very quiet. I really envy them. Such a big thing happened in Qingtian City, but they still sleep when they should and get up when they should. They don't care about the outside world and live a carefree life. Lunatic shook his head. One day in the future we can also live such a life. Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. I hope so. Lunatic sighed and looked at the river next to him, then looked outside Boss G's house and said with a smile, let's not wake them up first. Let's wait for them to wake up naturally. I saw a few fishing rods outside Grandpa's house. Why don't we play night fishing? Grandpa was naturally referring to Boss G. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded and smiled. It had been a long time since he calmed down and sat by the river to fish. Fishing was also a kind of cultivation, the cultivation of the mind. Chapter 4304. The frenzied man and the white-eyed wolf were both excited at first. However, when they sat by the river and looked at the bobber that didn't move for a long time, they quickly lost interest. The two of them lay on the grass with their hands behind their heads and looked up at the starry sky. The frenzied man smiled and asked, Old Qin, Brother Wolf, if I die in the divine kingdom one day, Will you still think of me as your brother? Who will think of you? You're not a beauty. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Heartless. The frenzied man pouted. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. Looking at the motionless bobber on the river, he smiled and said, "Don't say such unlucky things. Before Big Cousin left, he said that we have to go back alive and not a single one of us can be left behind." Not a single one of us can be left behind. The frenzied man muttered and chuckled. Brother Wolf, did you hear that? Don't fall behind. As he spoke, there was a hint of sleepiness in his voice. I'm talking about you. You're so arrogant and offended so many people. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life. The white-eyed wolf grinned. My life? Shouldn't it be my life? You make it sound like I'm already an old antique. As his body and mind relaxed, the frenzied man became more and more sleepy. Do you think you're still young? Sigh. Although I don't want to admit it, we're not young anymore. The people of Great Qin probably think of us as old ancestors now. The white-eyed wolf sighed. Time passed so quickly. Thinking back to the time when he met Qin Feiyong and the frenzied man, it felt like it had just happened yesterday. After waiting for a while and seeing that the frenzied man didn't reply, the white-eyed wolf turned his head and found that the frenzied man had already fallen asleep with a faint smile on his face. He looked very relaxed and peaceful. The white-eyed wolf also smiled and looked up at the boundless starry sky before slowly closing his eyes. Why aren't you talking? After a long time, Qin Feiyong suspiciously turned his head to look at the two of them. Seeing that both of them had fallen asleep, he couldn't help but be surprised. Didn't they say they were going to fish at night? Why are they all asleep? He shook his head and got up. He took out 2 sets of clothes from his universe ring and covered them with them. Subsequently, Qin Feiyong also sat at the side and looked at the quiet night sky with a smile on his face. Although he had left his hometown since he was a child and suffered a lot, he had never been lonely. That was because there was always someone accompanying him. In a person's life, it was enough to have 2 brothers who were willing to live and die with you. The sky gradually brightened. Early in the morning, the sun shone down and all living things came back to life. Boss Ji was the first to walk out of the house with a teacup in his hand. He looked refreshed. He walked to the entrance of the village and prepared to sit in an armchair to enjoy the tranquility of the morning. But suddenly, he noticed Qin Feiyong and the other 2 on the riverbank. Why are these 3 little fellows here? Moreover, they had all fallen asleep by the river? That's right. Qin Feiyong had also fallen asleep. After returning to the village, he felt unprecedentedly relaxed. Unknowingly, he had put down all his burdens and then slowly fell asleep. In fact, this was the sense of belonging and security of home. Ji Lauer and the others also walked out of the house one after another and walked to Boss Ji. When they saw Qin Feiyong and the other 2 lying by the river, they couldn't help but be stunned. Why are they sleeping by the river? Hurry up and wake them up. If they want to sleep, they should go to bed. After Ji Lausher finished speaking, he walked towards the 3 of them. Lausher. Master Zhou stopped him. What's wrong? Ji Lausher stopped and turned to look at him suspiciously. Master Zhou shook his head and said, It's not easy for them to sleep. Don't wake them up. But Ji Lausher frowned. They are already at such a cultivation level. Are you still afraid that they will catch a cold? Let them have a good rest. These years have been really tiring. Master Zhou smiled slightly and looked at Qin Feiyong and the other 2 with eyes full of love. All right. Ji Lausher nodded. Indeed. These years, these little guys have been running around in the Divine Kingdom and had to face such a strong enemy like the Central Dynasty. If it were other young people, they would have collapsed long ago. And these 3 little guys had been strong until now. It wasn't easy. Moreover, with the heavy burden and responsibility on their shoulders, once they were woken up, it was impossible for them to fall asleep again. Master Zhou smiled and said, But speaking of which, they can sleep so peacefully here. Do you know what this means? It means that they are tired. Ji Lausher said without hesitation. You're wrong. Master Zhou shook his head. Wrong? Ji Lausher was stunned and puzzled. Wrong. It's impossible to sleep so soundly alone outside no matter how tired they are. Master Zhou smiled. That's true. Ji Lausher nodded. So they treat this place as their home. Only the sense of belonging and security of home can make them put down everything and have a good sleep. Look at them now. We're talking loudly, but they haven't woken up. This means that they are very relieved to be here. Master Joe smiled. Hearing this, a group of old people inadvertently showed a smile on their faces. If they treated this place as their home, then these old people were naturally their family. Old woman, let's have more lunch today. Ji Lauer turned his head to look at the second young mistress and smiled. Keep your voice down. Don't wake them up. The second young mistress glared at the old man who had no sense of propriety. Yes, yes, yes. Ji Lauer nodded repeatedly. Time passed little by little. At noon, smoke curled up above the village. The aroma of food soon drifted out. By the river, Qin Feiyang's nose twitched, and his eyelids slowly opened. Looking at the scorching sun in the sky, he muttered in a daze, "Why did I fall asleep too? It smells so good." He rubbed his eyes and sat up. He turned his head and saw a group of old people sitting at the entrance of the village, playing chess together. He looked at the room where the second young mistress was. The aroma of food drifted out from that room. "You're so considerate." A smile appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. These old people must have gotten up long ago. They didn't wake them up obviously because they wanted him, the lunatic, and the white-eyed wolf to have a good sleep. This was an invisible kind of care. This kind of care was the most touching. "Wake up." Qin Feiyang withdrew his gaze and reached out to push the lunatic and the white-eyed wolf. The two of them woke up one after another and raised their hands to stretch. This sleep was really comfortable. "You're all awake." Ji Lauer turned his head to look at the three of them. Yes. The three of them nodded and walked to the river to wash up. Then they looked at the fishing rod and couldn't help but smile bitterly. They came to fish at night in high spirits, but they all fell asleep on the ground. Then, the three of them put away the fishing rod. The bait was still there, which meant that the fish in the water had not been touched at all. "Great-grandfather, do you have fish in the river?" The lunatic put the fishing rod on his shoulder and ran towards the group of old people while asking, "Fishing like this, it's good enough that the fishing rod is not taken away." Boss Ji rolled his eyes at him. Then Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "Brat, hurry over and help me. This bastard old Joe has been bullying me because of his superior chess skills. Help me take care of him." "Big brother, don't be like this. How can I find help?" Jijo said unhappily. "Scared." Boss Ji chuckled. "What am I scared of? This is a dead game now. I don't believe that this kid can come back from the dead." Jijo snorted. Qin Feiyang and the other two walked over. "Come here." Boss Ji waved at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang handed the fishing rod to the white-eyed wolf and walked to Boss Ji's side. Jijo looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Kid, if you can break this dead game, I will worship you as my master." "I don't dare." Qin Feiyang quickly waved his hand and looked at the chessboard carefully for a moment. He picked up a chess piece and put it on the chessboard with a smile on his face. "Is it solved just like that?" The group of old people quickly looked at the chessboard. After observing carefully for a while, Boss Ji's eyes suddenly lit up and then he couldn't help but laugh. On the other hand, Jijo's face was extremely ugly. It was originally a dead game, but with Qin Feiyang's move, not only did it help Boss Ji revive the game, but it also turned Jijo's side into a dead game. "Kid, you're good." Jijo patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and looked at Jijo with a smile. "Brother Joe, who told you to show off in front of us all day long? Now you've met your match." Jijo glared at Jijo, then looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, "What's this move called?" "Desperate counterattack." Qin Feiyang smiled. "What a desperate counterattack." Jijo smiled bitterly. "Didn't you want to worship me as your master? Hurry up, I've already prepared tea for you." Madman chuckled. Jijo's face darkened and he quickly changed the topic. He coughed and said, "Well, did you sleep well?" Madman looked at him with disdain and said, "I slept too well." Boss Ji asked, "Then this time are you going to stay a little longer or?" "That depends on your attitude. If you want us to leave now, we'll leave now. If you want us to stay a little longer, we'll stay a little longer." Madman chuckled. "Then get out of here now," Jijo said with a dark face. "I'm so sad." Madman immediately wiped his tears. "Wipe, wipe, wipe. Leave a drop of tear for me to see." Jijio rolled his eyes. Ha! Madman laughed dryly. You're all awake. This time. Second young mistress walked out of the house. Qin Feiyong and the other two nodded. When did you come last night? Why didn't you wake us and sleep by the river? What if you catch a cold? Second young mistress said reproachfully, but her words were full of concern. Although they all knew that it was impossible for people with their cultivation base to catch a cold, they didn't say it out loud. Because this was her concern for the three of them. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, We came last night in the middle of the night. Seeing that you were all resting, we didn't disturb you. You're treating us as outsiders. This is your home. You can come whenever you want. Second young mistress said. Thank you, great-grandmother. Qin Feiyong and the other two were touched. Okay, it's time to eat. You guys clean up. After saying that, second young mistress turned around and went back into the house. Chapter 4305. Time to eat, time to eat. Everyone help me clean up. Boss Ji chuckled. Qin Feiyong and the other two quickly went forward to clean up the chessboard and chess pieces on the table. Seeing the three of them scrambling to do the work, the group of old men was pleased. If it was any other young man with the strength and status of the three of them, these old men wouldn't even put them in their eyes. But in the eyes of Qin Feiyong and the other two, they only saw respect and filial piety. You are guests, how can we let you do it? Let us do it. Ji Laosher mocked. Guests? Great-grandfather, if you say so, then we will leave now. We came back specifically to show our filial piety. Frenzy said. Huh. Came back specifically to show our filial piety? The group of old men looked at each other and looked at the three of them who were busy with their heads lowered. Their eyes were a little wet. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong looked at the group of people suspiciously. Nothing. Sand got into my eyes. Boss Ji waved his hand. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. He could even find such a lame excuse. He sighed and said, The three of us have no relatives or friends in the divine kingdom, let alone a sense of belonging. It was you who gave us the warmth of a family, and allowed us to have someone to rely on in the divine kingdom. If we don't show our filial piety to you, who else can we show our filial piety to? I can't say something as emotional as old Qin, but I am really grateful to you for supporting us so much, trusting us and treating us like your own grandchildren. Frenzy looked up at the group of old men and said. Boss Ji and the others looked at each other and were very pleased. In today's world, there were very few young people like him who knew how to repay kindness. Take their descendants as an example. Even the monarch and Ji Yunhai rarely came to visit them. Needless to say, Ji Shaoi Ryuko and the other juniors, if you didn't call them over, they definitely wouldn't take the initiative to visit. Looking at the three kids in front of them, although they had met less than 10 times, they still cared about these old men in their hearts. Even now, they specially came to show their filial piety. Such a character was rare. Sit down. Boss Ji waved his hand. Qin Feiyong and the other two placed the chess pieces and the chessboard, and then sat around the table with the group of old people. Second young mistress and the others also came over with delicious dishes. You three silly children, we heard everything you said outside. What do you mean no relatives or friends? Aren't the people of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan your relatives? Second young mistress put down the dishes and looked at Qin Feiyong and the other two with a smile. That's right. You might not like the land of the Purple Gold Divine Dragons, but this place will always be your safe haven. Boss Ji nodded. Thank you, great-grandpas and great-grandmas. Qin Feiyong and the other two felt their hearts ache. There were still people in the Divine Kingdom who were genuinely good to them. Second young mistress waved her hand and said, Don't say so much. Hurry up and eat. You haven't even eaten breakfast. The dishes on the table were wild vegetables personally planted by a group of old people, as well as air-dried fish and meat. Although they were not as good as exotic delicacies, this was the taste of home. Qin Feiyong ate a piece of fish and turned to the white-eyed wolf. He asked, Didn't you prepare a gift for great-grandpa and great-grandma? Hurry up and take it out. Huh. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. Gift? What gift? Why didn't he know? You still have a gift? The group of old people laughed and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Yes. You even specially prepared a gift for great-grandpa and great-grandma. Frenzy looked at Qin Feiyang's eyes and understood. He chewed on a bone and said with a smirk. Seeing the smirk on their faces, the white-eyed wolf immediately understood. He glared at the two of them and reluctantly took out an interspatial ring. You really have one. The group of old people's faces bloomed with smiles. To be honest, as people of their age, they didn't want any gifts at all. They were satisfied as long as the juniors had the heart. It's a gift for you. The white-eyed wolf handed the interspatial ring to Boss G with a smile. Since he had already been tricked, he might as well give it to these old people with a smile rather than a sullen face. As long as these old people were happy, it was fine. Boss G took the interspatial ring and checked it. He was immediately full of smiles. What's this? Ji Laosher was curious. Boss G threw the interspatial ring to Ji Laosher. Ji Laosher checked it and was stunned. So much divine wine? There were at least dozens of varieties. It was not easy to collect dozens of varieties. They might have to go to all the restaurants in the 3 continents. From this, it could be seen that these children were indeed filial. Okay, since you've brought the wine, let's have a few drinks at noon. The group of old people didn't stand on ceremony and took out a few jars of divine wine. The white-eyed wolf's heart ached. He couldn't even bear to drink it himself. Ji Laosher poured the wine and asked, "What are you going to do next?" "What are you talking about, Laosher? Have you seen any children come home to talk about business?" Boss G glared at Ji Laosher unhappily. Huh. Ji Laosher was dazed. He patted his head and smiled embarrassedly. Well, yes. Let's not talk about these annoying things at home. Boss G looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and smiled. We don't care about what you do outside, but when you come back here you have to let go of everything and have a good rest. Okay. The 3 nodded. They liked this feeling. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 stayed in the village. During the day, they accompanied the group of old people and set up a time array to cultivate in seclusion at night. Everything seemed very peaceful. The group of old people was also very happy. They were all smiles all day. Outside, however, a storm was brewing. Under the influence of the monarch, the divine king, and the human sovereign, the people of the 3 major races were more and more dissatisfied with the central dynasty. In fact, the central dynasty was like a rat on the street that everyone wanted to beat up. At the same time, Forbidden Ocean. In the depths, above the ocean, a group of people came in a mighty manner. These people were men and women, old and young. They were all wearing the same black clothes. There was a sharp sword pattern embroidered on their chest. Each of them exuded an unfathomable aura, and it was filled with a murderous aura. The beasts along the way all fled at the sight of it. We have entered the territory of the 4 great continents. We will leave the Forbidden Ocean in a month or so. Everyone must be prepared. The leader was a black-robed old man. He scanned the endless ocean and said without turning his head, "Yes, Commander." The people behind him replied respectfully. There were about 5,000 to 6,000 people. Their eyes were as sharp as blades. "Commander, there are people in front." Suddenly, a black-robed middle-aged man pointed at the ocean in front. "People? Could it be that Qin Feiyang and the others know that we are going to the 4 great continents and are here to kill us?" Someone raised an eyebrow. The commander did not speak and looked at the ocean in front. Soon, 5 figures rushed over at high speed. It was the inner demons Lu Jijin, Dong Tianchen, Dong Ping, and Dong Exine. "It's them," the commander muttered and quickly went to greet them. At the same time, the inner demons also saw this group of people. "Dong Tianchen, who are they?" The inner demons was suspicious. Dong Tianchen glanced at the group of people and suddenly noticed the sword pattern on their chest. He said in surprise, "They are from the Death God Army." Death God Army. The inner demons and Lu Jijin looked at each other. They did not expect that they would send a Death God Army, and there were too many of them. There were about 6,000 of them. Although I have not been to the Death God Army's nest, I have seen the totem on their chest. Dong Tianchen said, "It is said that every member of the Death God Army has mastered the will of the heavenly Tao. 6,000 of them came at once. It is clear that the emperor values people like Qin Feiyang very much." Dong Ping said in a deep voice, "What should we do now?" Should we continue to return to the Central Dynasty or follow them to the 4 great continents? Dong Xian asked. This, Dong Tianqian and Dong Ping did not know what to do. They could not help but look at the inner demons in Lu Jijin. The inner demons in Lu Jijin's eyes flashed. They were originally planning to meet the people from the Central Dynasty halfway and find an excuse to let them go back. They did not expect that it would be the Death God army that came. These people would only listen to the Emperor's orders. It would be difficult to let them go back. Why don't you say something? Dong Ping looked at the 2 of them. The inner demon said, I don't care what you do, Big Brother, and I must return to the Central Dynasty. Why? Dong Ping was suspicious. Kill Dongqing. Even if the Emperor protects him, he must die. The inner demons laughed. His eyes were full of murderous intent. Dong Tianqian and the other 2 were shocked. It seemed that Dong Qingyuan's plot to kill the brothers' family had completely angered them. I think you should follow us back to the Central Dynasty. Because of Dong Tianqian, you are bound by the blood oath. Dong Ping and Dong Xian are controlled by the soul-controlling technique. If you go back with the Death God army now, Qin Feiyong will not let you go. Lu Jijin's eyes flashed. The 3 of them heard this and their hearts sank. That was right. They could not go back to the 4 great continents. Even if they wanted to go back, they had to break the blood oath and the soul-controlling technique first. Finally, the 2 groups met. Greetings, seniors. Dong Tianqian and the other 2 bowed to the Death God army. However, the inner demons and Lu Jijin only smiled coldly. The Death God army could not help but frown. They were indeed as arrogant as the rumors said. The inner demons did not know these people, but these people had heard about the deeds of the inner demons in the Central Dynasty. They could only be described with one word, lawless. I am the commander of the Death God army, Dong Yiming. The leader of the black-robed old men said. Senior Commander. Sorry for the disrespect. Dong Tianqian smiled respectfully. Dong Yiming waved his hand and looked at the 5 of them suspiciously. He asked, where are you going? Back to the Central Dynasty. Dong Tianqian said truthfully. Back to the Central Dynasty? Dong Yiming was stunned. The thousands of people behind him also had a trace of suspicion. Dong Yiming asked, have you dealt with Qin Feiyong and the others? Chapter 4306. No. Dong Tianqian shook his head. If it's not settled, why are you going back? Dong Yiming frowned. What does it have to do with you? The inner demons raised an eyebrow and said angrily. Why do you have so much nonsense to say? You? Dong Yiming was furious when he saw the inner demon's attitude. Although you brothers are geniuses and strong, I'm still the commander of the Death God army. Moreover, I'm their senior. Shouldn't the younger generation show respect to their seniors? What about me? The inner demon sneered. How dare you? You have no respect for your seniors. Someone from the Death God army shouted. Seniors, please calm down. More than a month ago, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng's family members died tragically, so they're in a bad mood. Please forgive them. Dong Tianqian hurriedly explained. Family members? When the members of the Death God Legion heard this, they couldn't help but be stunned. They had always been curious about the identity and background of the inner demons. That's right. They're family members. Dong Tianqian nodded. It seems that the identity of these 2 has been investigated. Dong Yiming muttered in his heart. He looked at Dong Tianqian and asked who killed them? Qin Feiyong and the others? If they were really killed by Qin Feiyong and the others, they wouldn't have returned to the Central Dynasty. Dong Tianqian smiled bitterly. Then who killed them? How dare they touch the people of the Central Dynasty? Are they courting death? Dong Yiming said angrily. They're courting death indeed. The inner demon stared at Dong Yiming and laughed sinisterly. Why are you staring at me? Dong Yiming panicked when he saw the red eyes of the inner demons, the one who killed their family members. Dong Tianqian sighed deeply and looked at Dong Yiming. It's your leader, Dong Qingye. What? Dong Yiming shook his head and said. That's impossible. The rest of the Death God army was also in disbelief. Dong Qingyuan was the leader of the Death God army, and the king's trusted aide. How could he do such a thing? It's a long story. Dong Tianqian sighed. What the hell is going on? Is there a misunderstanding? Someone asked. They had left for the 4 great continents before Dong Qingyuan had self-detonated. Therefore, even if Dong Qingyuan's soul was still in the Central Dynasty, he wouldn't know about this. There's nothing to explain. Dong Qingyuan must die. Not even the emperor can save him. The inner demons spoke. Dong Yiming and the others felt a chill in their hearts. So they were going back to the Central Dynasty to kill the leader. Wait, isn't the leader in the 4 great continents? Suddenly, Dong Yiming frowned. Why would Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng go back to the Central Dynasty to kill him? It seems that you didn't know that Dong Qingyuan left his soul in the Central Dynasty either. The inner demons sneered. The group of people looked at each other. Their leader had left his divine soul behind in the Central Dynasty? How could the leader do something so shameful and undignified? You must be surprised. The dignified leader of the Death God army is actually a coward. The inner demons laughed disdainfully. Dong Yiming was furious. Although he didn't know what was going on, as a subordinate, he wouldn't allow anyone to humiliate his master like this. What about me? I'm not convinced. I think you guys are jackals of the same tribe as him because you were all trained by him. The inner demons glanced at the group of people, his eyes full of mockery. Although you've lost your family, don't go too far. Someone said angrily. Too far? When Dong Qingyuan killed my family, didn't he think about whether he was going too far? The inner demon roared with an overbearing aura. I believe that the leader wouldn't kill your family for no reason. There must be a reason. Maybe there's something wrong with your family. Dong Yiming said in a deep voice. Say that again. The inner demons clenched his fists and stared at Dong Yiming like a beast. Dong Yiming felt a little guilty. The inner demon's aura was too strong, especially the invisible pressure that they exuded. Senior Commander, you've truly misunderstood Lu Yuntian. It's all Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu's fault. They're just innocent victims. Dong Tianqian sighed. Make it clear. Dong Yiming frowned. Lu Zhijin's eyes flashed. He looked at the group of people and said, Take your time. We'll leave first. Also, I advise you not to step into the 4 great continents for now. After that, the two of them brushed past Dong Yiming and left without looking back. Looking at the arrogant attitude of the two of them, the group of people of the Death God army burned with anger. Was this the attitude of a junior? Dong Yiming took a deep breath and looked at Dong Tianqian. Tell me the details. Dong Tianqian nodded and told him how Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu set up a trap to frame Qin Feiyang and the others, and how they used the inner demons in Lu Zhijin. The 6,000 people of the Death God army looked at Dong Tianqian with their mouths agape. They never thought. This was the truth of the matter. If Dong Tianqian hadn't said it himself, they wouldn't have believed that Dong Qingyuan would do such a thing. Then what did Lu Yunfeng mean by that sentence? Dong Yiming asked. What did he say? Dong Tianqian was suspicious. He said that it's best that we don't step into the 4 great continents for now. Dong Yiming said. He said that for your own good. Because of Dong Qingyuan, the people of the 3 races hate the Central Dynasty to the core. Dong Qingyuan even said in public that the Central Dynasty has been using the 3 races as cannon fodder. Think about it. What would you think if you and I were in his shoes? Dong Tianqian sighed. He said something like that? He's crazy. Dong Yiming was shocked. I think he's crazy. He's too full of himself. Although the Central Dynasty is superior to the 4 great continents, he doesn't have to say that. Even the emperor wouldn't dare to say something like that, let alone him. Dong Ping harumphed. Foolish, foolish. Dong Yiming shook his head and sighed. In his impression, Dong Qingyuan was a person with a sense of propriety. Why did he become so unwise after coming to the 4 great continents? If the emperor heard about this, he wouldn't let Dong Qingyuan off easily. Now that the divine kingdom was invaded by Qin Feiyang and the others, what they needed the most was unity. Now that Dong Qingyuan had made such a scene, the divine kingdom had fallen apart. At that time, many people were angrily shouting that they wanted to rebel against the Central Dynasty. If you enter the 4 great continents now, you'll be cursed by the 3 races and even beaten up. Dong Tianqian said. Then what should we do? Do we really have to go back? Someone frowned. I'm afraid we'll have to report this to the emperor first. Also, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng will definitely settle the score with Dong Qingyuan when they return to the Central Dynasty. By then, the Central Dynasty will be in chaos because of them. Dong Tianxian was worried. Dong Yiming nodded and said, "That's true. With such a deep hatred in their personalities, they won't let it go until they kill Dong Qingyuan. Anyway, this is our suggestion. It's up to you whether you want to go to the 4 great continents or not," Dong Tianxian said. He wasn't stalling for time for Qin Feiyang. He was stating a fact. In the current situation, if the people of the Central Dynasty set foot in the 4 great continents again, they would definitely become the target of the anger of billions of people in the 4 great continents. Although the Death God army was very strong and wasn't afraid of the people of the 4 great continents, they had to consider the consequences sometimes. The people of the 4 great continents were part of the divine kingdom. If they fell out completely and even rebelled, they wouldn't be able to bear the consequences when the emperor investigated. "Commander, shall we go back first?" someone asked. Dong Yiming thought for a while, then turned to the people behind him and said, "How about this? 10 of you stay here and the rest go back first. If Lu Yuntian and the others really make a scene, you can come out and stop them. After all, Lu Yuntian has the Demon King real body and the law of life and death. He can easily defeat 3,000 experts with the will of heaven. As for Lu Yunfeng, he also has the Eye of Void. If they really make a scene, the consequences will be unimaginable. The remaining 10 will follow me to the 4 great continents and secretly investigate the current situation of the 4 great continents so that we can be prepared." Dong Yiming was right. The inner demons had the Demon King real body and could summon 3,000 real bodies. His battle strength alone was equivalent to 3 people of the Death God army. Coupled with his law of life and death, it was a completely one-sided situation. So, even if the Central Dynasty had the ability to suppress the inner demons, they would still have to pay a heavy price. Then there was Lu Zhejin. The Eye of Void could make the ultimate profound meaning ineffective. Even the Death God army couldn't do anything about such a heaven-defying method. So, as long as something related to the inner demons happened, they had to be 120% alert and treat it seriously. This was the current status and deterrent force of the 2. No one dared to ignore them. "Okay, then be careful." A middle-aged man in a black robe looked at Dong Yiming and warned, "Don't worry, I won't show up. I'll just observe in the dark." Dong Yiming smiled. "Okay, let's go." The middle-aged man in a black robe waved his hand. The large group immediately followed Dong Tianxian and the other 2 and headed toward the inner demons and Lu Zhejin. Lu Zhejin and the inner demons hadn't gone far. They turned around and looked behind. What is Dong Yiming doing with those 10 people? The inner demons frowned. Who cares? As long as the large group doesn't go to the 4 great continents. Lu Zhejin smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang could easily kill Dong Yiming and the other 11 people. The inner demons laughed secretly. Speaking of which, Dong Tianxian and the other 2 have helped us a lot. If these 6,000 people really went to the 4 great continents, it would be a problem for Qin Feiyang and the others. As expected. I didn't say much before because I wanted the 3 of them to say it for me, because it would be more truthful if the 3 of them said it, and Dong Yiming and the others wouldn't be suspicious. After all, the 3 of them were the direct descendants of the Central Dynasty. In short, the words that Lu Zhejin said to Dong Yiming before he left were equivalent to a fuse. Whether it was Dong Yiming's question or the 3's answer, it was all within his calculations. Chapter 4307. A few days passed. In the morning the sun was shining brightly. Qin Feiyang accompanied Boss Ji as they sat by the river and fished. Looking at the calm water surface, Qin Feiyang suddenly revealed a smile. "What are you smiling about?" Boss Ji asked with a smile. "The inner demons and big cousin have already entered the Central Dynasty." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "How do you know?" Boss Ji was surprised. In the past few days, Qin Feiyang had been under his eyelids the entire time and had never left. "Because I have a telepathic connection with the inner demons and can sense each other's presence. Just a while ago, the connection between us was suddenly cut off. This means that he has already entered the Central Dynasty." Qin Feiyang smiled. "So that's the case." Boss Ji suddenly understood. The relationship between the inner demons and the original body was really strange. However, Qin Feiyong suddenly lowered his head and frowned. What's wrong? Boss Ji looked at him in confusion. Did they encounter the main forces of the Central Dynasty halfway? If they did the main forces follow the inner demons back? We can't ignore this. Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered. If the main forces didn't return to the Central Dynasty, then he had to be fully prepared. Suddenly, he took out the Divine Voice Stone. Buzz! Very soon, a shadow appeared. It was Ji Yunhai. Senior. Qin Feiyong stood up and bowed. You flatter me, you flatter me. Ji Yunhai hurriedly waved his hands. You're a senior, why don't you dare? Moreover, you're now the acting patriarch of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. Don't act like a coward. Boss Ji looked at Ji Yunhai's appearance and instantly reprimanded him angrily. Grandpa is here too? Ji Yunhai's expression changed. Yes. Qin Feiyong turned the Divine Voice Stone slightly and Boss Ji appeared in front of Ji Yunhai. Grandpa. Ji Yunhai hurriedly bowed. Useless. Boss Ji snorted coldly and turned back to look at the bobbers on the water. Ji Yunhai smiled embarrassedly. Looking at Qin Feiyong, he asked, When did you go to the village? Qin Feiyong smiled and said, After we separated at Thousand Phoenix Mountain that day, we came to the village. We have been living here all this time. I see. Ji Yunhai nodded in realization. Boss Ji's face was cold. He didn't look at Ji Yunhai and said, Hearing this, don't you feel ashamed? Ah. Ji Yunhai looked at Boss Ji suspiciously. What did he mean by that? He couldn't understand it at all. Looks like you don't have any awareness. Fine, I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. Boss Ji shook his head in disappointment. Ji Yunhai was as confused as a monk. It seemed like he hadn't provoked this old man during this period of time. Qin Feiyong looked at Boss Ji and smiled. Great-grandfather, I'll go talk to him in private. Go, so that I won't be annoyed. Boss Ji waved his hand. Qin Feiyong brought the Divine Voice Transmission Stone and entered the tea garden in the Black Tortoise world. What's going on with the old man? Ji Yunhai finally dared to ask the reason. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Great-grandfather just wanted to say that you didn't come to visit them often, so that's what happened. Then he could have just said it. Why beat around the bush? Ji Yunhai was helpless. You can't blame great-grandfather for this. You and the monarch shouldn't talk about it. After all, you're busy with work. But shouldn't Ryuko and Ji Shaoi come to visit often? Qin Feiyong shook his head. Ji Yunhai was silent for a while and sighed. To be honest, I've told Shaoi as well. But because of the Eye of Destiny being stolen, he's been angry, so... At this point, Ji Yunhai couldn't continue. He could only sigh. Qin Feiyong frowned and shook his head. It seems like he hasn't realized his mistake. If he had defeated Dong Jingyang in the test that day, I believe that Dong Jingyang wouldn't have any complaints about it. Maybe that's the difference between us. Let's not talk about this. Ji Yunhai waved his hand and asked, Why did you send me a message? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, Send someone to the entrance of the Forbidden Ocean and help me keep an eye on the Central Dynasty. Keep an eye on the Central Dynasty? Ji Yunhai was shocked. That's right. There are some things that we have to guard against. Most of the Central Dynasty's troops have probably already entered the Forbidden Ocean. If the inner demons and cousin can't persuade them to return, then we have to be fully prepared. So, send someone to keep an eye on the entrance of the Forbidden Ocean. This way, if they really come to the 4 great continents, then we can know their whereabouts immediately. But remember, you have to find a few smart people. Don't let them discover you. Qin Feiyong reminded. Understood. Ji Yunhai nodded. All right. Let me know immediately if you have any news. Qin Feiyong smiled. Yes. Coincidentally, I also have something to say. Last time at the Thousand Phoenix Mountain, didn't I say that I would lay out my cards to the supremacies of the 3 races? These days, the Divine King, the supremacy of the human race, and I have been secretly observing them. Seeing that their dissatisfaction with the Central Dynasty is getting stronger and stronger, I think it's time to lay out my cards and explain everything to them. Ji Yunhai said. Lay out my cards. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and looked at Ji Yunhai. How about this? Find a time and bring them to the village. We'll lay out our cards in front of a group of old men. That's right. These old men are highly respected. With them in charge, this matter will definitely be easier. Ji Yunhai's eyes lit up. Yes. In addition, these supremacies aren't idiots. The reason why they dare to stand up against the central dynasty is because they still don't know the foundation of the central dynasty. If we let them know, they might have other thoughts. So we can't be careless about this matter. Qin Feiyang reminded. I understand. In any case, as long as we take a wrong step in the future, we'll definitely end up with our bodies crushed. Ji Yunhai nodded. Then do you regret it now? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Regret? Ji Yunhai smiled and shook his head. Don't look at my strength. I've never regretted any of the decisions I've made. Moreover, it was the central dynasty that went too far. If we don't resist now, what awaits us will be destruction. Then what you did to the Sky Cloud domain and the Nether King's hell back then, don't you regret it? Qin Feiyang asked. Ji Yunhai fell silent. There's no harm in saying it. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. I don't regret it. After all, back then we served different masters. Of course, if there's a chance in the future to make up for it, I'll try my best to do so. But I'm making up for it not because of the guilt in my heart, but because I want to resolve the grudge between Madman and me, Ji Yunhai said. Qin Feiyang took a deep look at Ji Yunhai. He's quite a character. He said with a smile, you and senior brother have already discussed the matter. Hurry up and arrange it. Okay. Ji Yunhai nodded. The shadow quickly dissipated. Qin Feiyang also left the Black Tortoise domain and returned to the river. Done? Boss Ji asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, sat on a small stool, picked up the fishing rod inserted into the ground, and said with a smile, I hope this time I won't catch a big fish again. Who knows? Boss Ji chuckled. In the blink of an eye. A month had passed. At the entrance of the Taboo Ocean, 11 figures broke through the air like lightning. This is the East Continent? After leaving the Taboo Ocean, the 11 people stopped above the ocean and scanned the ocean in front of them, their eyes full of curiosity. It was Dong Yiming and his group. It was the first time they came to the 4 great continents, so everything here was very new to them. After a while, Dong Yiming withdrew his gaze and looked at the 10 of them. Remember, without my orders, you are not allowed to cause trouble. Moreover, from this moment on, you are to change your appearances and conceal your identities. You absolutely cannot expose our identities. Yes, Commander. The 10 people replied respectfully. The 11 people changed their appearances, put on ordinary people's clothes and quickly left. But they didn't know. After they left, 2 old men silently appeared from the ocean below. Commander? What commander? One of the old men frowned. I don't know. But this acting patriarch does have some foresight. As expected, the Central Dynasty sent people to the 4 great continents again. The other old man sneered. To be honest, Ji Yunhai's performance was indeed surprising. I used to think that he was a very mediocre person. Are you kidding? How can he be mediocre as the king's brother? It's just that he didn't have a chance to show his strength because of the Heavenly Lord. But no matter what, the Heavenly Lord can't die in vain. The Central Dynasty must pay the price for this. Let's go back and report immediately. Murderous intent flashed in their eyes. Then they opened a space-time passage and left without looking back. In the evening, in the village, Boss Ji and a group of old men sat at the entrance of the village, drinking tea. There were many small wooden stools next to them. Master Ji turned to Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and said with a smile, they should be here soon. Do you want to leave first? They're here to show their cards anyway. Is there a need to leave? Frenzy waved his hand indifferently. Boss Ji said, why don't we leave them for a while and see what their attitudes are? Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and led the reluctant Frenzy and White-Eyed Wolf into Boss Ji's house. Then they concealed their presence and silently looked through the window at the entrance of the village. Gradually, the sky was completely dark. A bonfire was lit at the entrance of the village, illuminating the night sky. Buzz! Suddenly, 3 space-time passages appeared in the sky one after another. The king, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race led Ji Yunhai and the other supremes out of the space-time passages. Except for the 3 supremes of the human race and the 10 supremes of the god race, everyone was present. The group of people looked at each other and smiled. They landed at the entrance of the village and bowed to the group of old men. Boss G and the other elders were all seniors from the previous era. They were already juniors. Moreover, Boss G and the others had already reached the pinnacle of their strength. Hence, they should be treated with respect, be it for public or private reasons. Chapter 4308. They're all here. No need to be so courteous. After all, you are all important figures of the current generation. If others saw you, wouldn't they laugh at you? Our place is simple and crude. You can just sit here. Boss G laughed hoarsely. What kind of big shot are we? In front of you, we are just little brats, worthless. The king smiled flatteringly. Stop flattering me. Boss G glared at him. Ha! The monarch laughed dryly. The others smiled at each other and sat around the bonfire. In the past, they were very afraid of these old people, but now that they had come into contact with them, they found that they were quite friendly. Master Jijo cut to the chase and asked, "How's the situation in the 3 continents these days?" "Very bad." Upon hearing this, the monarch, the divine king, and the human race supreme being all looked worried. "What is it?" Jijo frowned. "Ever since the incident with Dong Qingyuan, our hatred and disgust for the central dynasty has grown stronger with each passing day. I've even heard that some of us have secretly formed an alliance against the central dynasty." The king said, "That's a good thing." The Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan's Great Venerable spoke. "How is this a good thing? Do you know what will happen if the central dynasty learns of this?" The king said angrily, "Your Majesty, don't tell me you're still working for the central dynasty and the sovereign lord?" Just as Qin Feiyang said that day in Qingtian City, "If this is the case, then you are blindly loyal." The Purple Gold Dragon God glared at the monarch furiously. "Great Venerable, what kind of attitude is this? Do you want to implicate our entire Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan?" Ji Yunhai rebuked. "I didn't. Not only that, I'm doing it for the good of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. The central dynasty and the sovereign lord are no longer worth our lives. Moreover, the heavenly monarch can't die so unjustly. If you are still so stubborn, I believe that the heavenly monarch will not be able to rest in peace." The Purple Gold Divine Dragon closed his eyes in pain and clenched his fists tightly. His brows were filled with hatred. The other 9 venerables of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan also stood on the Great Venerable's side. The human clan's Great Venerable looked at the monarch and the others. After pondering for a long time, he sighed and said, "I've been thinking about this problem for the past few days. You can say that I've been unable to sleep at night." Everyone couldn't help but look at the human clan's Great Venerable. "I'm thinking, why are we protecting the divine kingdom and working so hard for the Lord?" Finally, I got an answer in my heart. The reason we protect the divine kingdom is actually to protect our people. We hope that they can continue to live happily. Working for the hegemon is actually the same as working for the fate of our 3 races. But now, the dignity of the people below is being trampled on. The fate of the 3 great tribes is also threatened. That's why I personally feel that we can no longer remain silent. We have to stand up and resist. We can't let down the trust that the common people have placed in us. The human clan's Great Venerable was so furious that he almost roared out the last sentence. That's right. If we remain silent now, we don't have the right to continue sitting in this position. We don't have the right to have the people believe in us and respect us. The God Clan's Great Venerable spoke as well. The monarch, the divine king, and the autarchs exchanged glances. A hint of a smile flashed across their eyes. The situation was better than they had expected. Jijo scanned the group, then looked at the other venerables of the human clan and the God Clan. He asked, "Do you all think the same?" Yes. Everyone nodded. The hostility toward the central dynasty in their eyes came from the bottom of their hearts. "But have you thought about how we should deal with the central dynasty's revenge if we really resist?" Jijo asked. The God Clan's Great Venerable roared. "I don't believe that the combined strength of our 3 races can't resist the central dynasty." The monarch sighed. "We really can't resist the central dynasty." Do you know how many experts there are in the central dynasty who possess the will of the heavens? I don't know. The god clan's great venerable shook his head. The other venerables also looked doubtful. Let me tell you. As far as I know, there are no less than 5,000 people in the central dynasty who possess the will of the heavens, the monarch said. What? That many? The venerables' eyes trembled. It was beyond their imagination. The total number of venerables of their 3 races didn't even exceed 100. How could they fight the central dynasty with so few people? That's only what we know. It's said that the emperor has an army of reapers. The members of this army are all experts who possess the will of the heavens. No one knows the exact number, but it could be more than 5,000, 10,000, or even more. If we really resist, how are we going to fight them? I'm afraid that even if we sacrifice our lives, it won't be enough. The monarch sighed. The venerables fell silent. This was a number that made them despair. Are we just going to swallow this humiliation? Are we going to let the fate of our 3 races be in the hands of others? And the heavenly Lord's death, are we going to let him die in vain? The eyes of the venerables of the purple gold divine dragon race were filled with anger and unwillingness. The monarch took a deep breath and looked at the venerables. Give me a firm answer. Do you really want to resist? The venerables looked at each other and said in unison, yes, we should fight for our fate. No regrets. The monarch asked again. No regrets. The group of venerables spoke forcefully. Very well. The monarch nodded and smiled coldly. As long as you have this attitude, I have a way to fight the central dynasty. What way? The venerables looked at the monarch expectantly. The monarch looked at Boss G and the others. Boss G understood. He turned to look at the house and said, come out. The venerables looked up. As the door opened, 3 familiar figures appeared in their line of sight. What are you doing here? The venerables stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others in shock. I invited them here. The monarch said. Why did you do that? Did you forget that the heavenly Lord's death was also related to them? The venerables of the purple gold divine dragon race were furious. Calm down. The monarch waved his hand and signaled them to sit down. The venerables held back their anger and killing intent and returned to their seats. Qin Feiyang and the others also walked over. We're all old friends. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. The venerables sneered. Who's old friends with you? The white-eyed wolf sighed. Seems like we're not welcomed here. How sad. We came to help you, but you rolled your eyes at us. Don't cry crocodile tears. Although we're prepared to fight the central dynasty, we've never thought about working with you. Someone scoffed. Can you deal with the central dynasty if you don't work with us? It's not that I'm looking down on you. But even if you command everyone from the 3 races, it won't be enough to deal with the central dynasty. The madman's face was full of disdain. You, the venerable stood up again and glared at the madman. You don't like to hear the truth. If you want to control your own destiny and protect your people, you have to work with us. There's no other choice. The madman sneered and took out a jar of divine wine. He walked to the bonfire and sat on the ground, drinking it happily. Monarch, Divine King and Jizun look at his attitude. Everyone looked at the 3 venerables angrily. Calm down, calm down. I'm the one who called them here. The Divine King and Jizun also know about this and agreed. If we want to fight back, I think it's necessary to work with Qin Feiyang and the others. The monarch said. But have you forgotten what they've done to the 3 races over the years? The purple gold divine dragon frowned. Then tell me, what have they done to the 3 races? The monarch asked with a smile. Haven't they done enough? They killed the geniuses of the 3 races, destroyed the 3 sacred grounds, and caused chaos in the 3 continents. The great venerables said. But compared to the sea race and the beast race? The monarch asked again. Facing this question, the great venerables was speechless. The sea race and the beast race were directly wiped out. Although the 3 races did suffer some losses, compared to the sea race and the beast race, our losses are still considered losses. The monarch said. But, the great venerables wanted to refute, but he couldn't find a reason to, because it was the truth. Compared to the sea race and the beast race, the 3 races were much luckier. Actually, Qin Feiyang and the others have been showing mercy to the 3 races over the years. Otherwise, we would have followed in the footsteps of the sea race and the beast race. The human race is Jizun's side. That's right. It's also because of this that we decided to form an alliance with them. Anyway, their target is the central dynasty and the ruler. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. Moreover, Qin Feiyang is the daughter of the monarch and the descendant of Jihanhua. In other words, we are on the same side. If we don't cooperate with each other, who should we cooperate with? The divine king said. It makes sense, but we have a deep hatred for them. The human race's great venerables frowned. Well, this junior would like to ask, what kind of deep hatred do we have? Did this junior exterminate your race or accidentally kill your loved ones? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile while looking at the human race's great venerables. The human race's great venerables were speechless for a while. The words deep hatred should be said by me, because the hatred between us started when you invaded the Sky Cloud realm. Back then, when the Divine Kingdom invaded the Sky Cloud realm for the first time, how many people died tragically? I'm afraid it's not an exaggeration to say that the people were plunged into misery and suffering. Even the entire continent was beaten to the point of collapse. Such a big hatred, but I didn't even bother to argue with you. What are you arguing about? Qin Feiyang's eyes were cold, and the group of venerables was speechless. Chapter 4309. What? None of you are going to speak? That means what we said makes sense. To be honest, with the damage you caused to the Sky Cloud realm, even if we destroy you now, it will be hard for you to forgive your sins. So, you should thank us for being magnanimous and not arguing with you. The madman smiled coldly. You. The venerables glared at the madman. Although it was their fault to invade the Sky Cloud realm, there was no need to be so arrogant. Actually, it's not senior brother's fault. Because if you know senior brother's true identity, you will feel ashamed. Qin Feiyang said. What identity? Everyone was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said. Senior brother is the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. What? You are the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. The group of venerables was shocked. Although they had all been to the Sky Cloud realm, they had heard of the name of the Blood Demon King. It was the Blood Demon King who led the Blood Demon race to the Nether King's Hell to stop Jiyun Hai. Now you can understand. Senior brother hates you to the bone, but for the overall situation, for the people of the Divine Kingdom, he is willing to let go of everything and cooperate with you to deal with the Central Dynasty. For senior brother to do this, it is enough to show his benevolence and generosity. But what about you? You're all clearly guilty people who deserve to be punished. Yet you're here talking shamelessly about deep hatred. May I ask if you don't feel ashamed? Qin Feiyang's words were like pearls, making the group of venerables lower their heads in shame. Since we have said so, we don't want to say anything more. You can directly state your position. If you form an alliance with us, we will be comrades in the future, relying on each other and advancing together. If you don't form an alliance with us, of course, we won't deal with you like we dealt with the beast race and the sea race. But if you are in danger, don't say that we don't help you. After the white-eyed wolf finished speaking, he silently looked at the group of venerables, waiting for their decision. The group of venerables hesitated. This was really a difficult choice. If you want to rebel against the Central Dynasty, you have to work with them. Otherwise, we'll definitely oppose it. This matter involves too many things, and we can't gamble with the fate of the three races. The monarch, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race all expressed their opinions one after another. The god race great venerable frowned and said, You mean if you don't cooperate with Qin Feiyang and the others, you will continue to obey the Central Dynasty? Not bad. The three of them nodded. How capable are they? Why are the three of you so confident? Do you think we can fight against the Central Dynasty with them around? The group of supremacies was puzzled. Capable? Haven't you seen what they are capable of? Let's not talk about that. Even if we only talk about the ultimate mysteries that they took from the sea beasts and beasts, it should be enough to boost our strength in a short period of time. The king said. The group of supremacies looked at each other. This was the truth. The great venerable of the god clan asked, You mean that they will give us the ultimate Upanishad? Yes. The monarch nodded. How is this possible? Will they be so generous? The supremacies shook their heads in disbelief. Regarding this matter, you have really underestimated them. Now that things have come to this, we will not hide it from you. In fact, they have already given us the ultimate Upanishad. The monarch said. What? Why didn't we know about it? The supremacies were bewildered. Because this matter is too important and you have already grasped the will of the heavenly Tao and no longer need to fuse with the inheritance, we did not tell you. It is also because of their sincerity that we decided to form an alliance with them. The monarch smiled faintly. He said this to avoid some trouble. Because if he said that they had already formed an alliance, the supremacies might use their endless imagination. After all, the power of a person's image was quite terrifying. The group of supremacies was stunned. The second supremacies of the god race asked, how many? Our 3 races each have 1,000. Each has 6 ultimate Upanishad of the ultimate Upanishad. A total of 18,000 ultimate Upanishad of the ultimate Upanishad of the ultimate Upanishad. The monarch smiled faintly. So many? The group of supremacies was shocked. They had never even heard of 3,000 inheritances. In the past, if they were able to obtain 1 or 2 inheritances, they could already burn incense to thank the gods. A total of 3,000 portions, what kind of concept was that? Moreover, they were all inheritances of ultimate profundities of the strongest laws. If they made good use of these inheritances, wouldn't the 3 great races be able to create a total of 5,000 to 6,000 experts with the will of the heavenly Tao in a very short period of time? In this way, the strength of the 3 races would instantly soar to an unprecedented level. Naturally, they would have more confidence in dealing with the central dynasty. The supreme martial artist of the human race took a deep breath and calmed the shock in his heart. He looked at the monarch and the other 2 and said, so, the 3 of you have already accepted it? Wouldn't I be an idiot if I didn't accept such a great gift? The monarch chuckled. Yes, of course he had to. This was a good fortune delivered to his doorstep. Only a fool would reject it. The purple gold dragon god turned to look at Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and said, if we say that we don't want to work with you now, will you take back these inheritances? How can we take back a gift that we've already given out? Besides, no matter what, I'm also a descendant of the purple gold dragon race. It's my duty to help the purple gold dragon race. As for the god race and the human race, the divine king and senior supreme are both reasonable people. I'm willing to give them to them for free. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Hearing this, the supremacies had mixed feelings. They were clearly enemies, but they were willing to give for the 3 great races. Looking at their current behavior, how were they different from villains? It really made them feel ashamed, especially the 10 supremacies of the purple gold dragon race. Qin Feiyang said that he was also a descendant of the purple gold dragon race, and it was his duty to help the purple gold dragon race. This made the 10 supremacies feel extremely complicated. Was this Qin Feiyang's character? He was a classic example of repaying evil with kindness. Ancestors, what do you think about this matter? In the end, the 10 supremacies looked at Boss Ji and the group of elders. Master Jizhou chuckled and said, without our statement, would the monarch dare to accept the 1,000 inheritances from Qin Feiyang? The 10 supremacies understood. It turned out that they had already obtained the approval of these ancestors. Since even these old ancestors had agreed, what else could they say? All right. In the end, the 10 supremacies turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, all right, we'll form an alliance with you. As soon as these words came out, whether it was Boss Ji and the group of elders, the monarch and Ji Yunhai, a smile appeared on their faces. Qin Feiyang was the same. Patriarch, what are you laughing at? Could it be that you already knew about this? The purple gold dragon race's great supremacies looked at Ji Yunhai suspiciously. Yes, not only do I know, but I've also obtained a few ultimate inheritances. Soon, I'll be able to grasp the will of the heavenly Tao. Ji Yunhai nodded, seeming to be in a good mood. So, we venerables are the only ones who are kept in the dark? The great supremacies were stunned. We didn't mean to hide it from you guys. After all, this is a serious matter and we only dared to say it after you guys made your stand. After all, Old Wu and the other spies were a good lesson. Ji Yunhai smiled. All right. The 10 supremacies smiled helplessly, seeing that the 10 supremacies of the purple gold divine dragon race had agreed. The divine king and the human supremacy could not help but turn to their subordinates and ask, "What about you guys?" The god race's great supremacy said with a bitter smile, "If we still don't agree now, wouldn't we be heartless people?" The other supremacies nodded one after another. "However, there's something I'd like to say first. After we form an alliance, we must treat each other with sincerity and not plot against each other behind their backs. It's best if we can swear a blood oath." The god race's great supremacy said, "That's right. Although it's a little childish, we have to swear a blood oath. This way, be it us or Qin Feiyang, you guys can truly trust each other." The human supremacy said, "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then let's begin." As the human supremacy stood up, the other supremacies also stood up. Qin Feiyang, the frenzied one, and the white-eyed wolf stood up as well. With the heavens as witness, today the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon race form an alliance with Qin Feiyang and the other two. We will live and die together, advance and retreat together. If there's any disloyalty, may the heavens and earth destroy us. As soon as he finished speaking, oaths descended from the sky and entered their skulls. The boulder in the hearts of the 3 supremacies was finally lifted. As long as these supremacies nodded in agreement, it was basically a matter of course. Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 supremacies and said with a smile, "Seniors, I'm sure you haven't unlocked the gate of potential yet, right? No. We don't even dare to tell them about the inheritance, let alone unlocking the gate of potential." The king shook his head and smiled. "Gate of potential? What do you mean?" The group of supremacies looked at Qin Feiyang and the king in surprise. "You guys don't know, this kid can refine pills that can unlock the gate of potential. He has already given us a lot of them last time. The divine king's supremacy, second brother, and these old men have all unlocked the gate of potential." The king looked at the group of supremacies and smiled. The group of supremacies was shocked. There was actually such a pill in this world? He wasn't lying to them, right? Ji Yunhai stood up and took off the clothes on his chest. The potential imprint immediately appeared in front of everyone. The king and the human supremacy looked at each other and also showed their potential imprints. If Ji Yunhai was the only one who had unlocked the gate of potential, they wouldn't be convinced. However, all 3 of them had their potential imprints, so there was no need to doubt it. "We old guys won't do such a childish thing." You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.